I am Sharon G. I am your health and wellness coach, and I have been working this journey for the last almost 4 years. And it's been amazing. I've learned a great deal. I have completely changed my own health based on what we've been doing with the bioscan and the detox process. And it's been great. So I'm excited for you all to get started and to be a part of this because it is truly life changing. And there's no way I could go back to the life I had before this process. And I am thankful and grateful for what I've been able to achieve and the experience that I have gained. So excited for you all to have the same. Dr. Prince?
I am working my way to my Bluetooth. I'm gonna have you give me a few extra minutes. Just give your testimony about how your health was before you scanned, and then what you did to correct it and better it, and how it looked after the scan.
Okay. So yes, I did have some health issues prior to meeting Dr. Prince and having a scan. However, I didn't really know what those health issues were. I just knew I felt horrible every day. I had stiffness in my bones. It took me a minute to get out of bed. I was always tired. I had fibroids and ovarian cysts. Those I knew of. There was something going on with my heart. And no matter how many times I went to the doctor, they could not tell me. They ran tests and they kept saying, you're fine. But I had this pain and this pressure that kept happening in my heart. And so when I met Dr. Prince and I had my initial scan, that confirmed what I was feeling in my heart. In addition to which, it revealed some other things that I had no idea was going on. Severe fatty liver. I also had borderline diabetes, gastrointestinal issues, weakness in my heart, and pressure buildup in my arteries, the coronary and in my vascular arteries. What else? That's enough. I had some other things going on. I had a long list of items that came up on my bioscan report. So at that point, I decided to make some major changes. One being I was going to cleanse and detox my body for 3 weeks. No cooked food, no animal products, just raw fruit and vegetables, raw juice, raw nuts and seeds. And after that 3-week period was over, I was a different person. I felt amazing. My energy levels were through the roof. And when I tell you my energy levels were through the roof, there were times throughout my day that I was so tired that I felt like I was literally dragging myself through the day. It was awful. I would get home in the evening and all I wanted to do was lay in my bed. I didn't even want to cook anything to eat, despite the fact that I might have been hungry. I didn't care about eating. I just wanted to lay down and rest my body. And that was my day every day until I started cleansing. And at that point, I had energy through the roof. I was coming home from work and cleaning up and cooking and doing all kind of stuff and still ready to be able to do more. So that was a major blessing. I shrank my fibroids and got rid of the ovarian cysts. I put my severe fatty liver back in normal range. So that was pretty amazing. It took 2 years, but I still did it because I put in the work and I made the sacrifices. Heart disease, high blood pressure, and diabetes are issues that run in my family. And I just decided that that was not going to be my future. And that was another reason, another decision as to why I made the changes in my health that I did. And I'm grateful and thankful for that, because had I not gone through this process and had I not made the changes that I made, I would be expressing heart disease, diabetes, and high blood pressure, just like my parents and grandparents. And so I was able to eradicate that from my life. And because I'm on this path, I never have to worry about those issues coming up in my future. And I want the same for everyone else. Your genes don't have to determine what your health is. You make that determination. So I'm excited again for you all to get started and to make those changes in your life. And when you start making those changes in your life, you also assist those around you, your family members, your parents, your cousins, your children, co-workers. You can influence them and help them make the same changes in their life, so that we can begin to eradicate the diseases that we've been accustomed to seeing all of our lives. All right, Dr. Prince.
Thank you. Thank you, Sharon. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay, cool. All right, so thank you guys for your patience. And I don't know where to start. Sharon had a great testimony, and the reason I wanted her to give you her testimony is because a lot of times, you know, when you first saw Sharon before she started this journey with me, you couldn't have told that all of this was going on. Looking at a person, sometimes you can't tell. That's why a lot of times when something happens suddenly, we don't know exactly what it is, because everything outward appears to be normal. But the question is, what's going on inside? What in the cell is going on? And that's what we want to find out, what in the cell is going on, because whatever's going on in your cells eventually is going to affect the tissue, is also going to lead to the organ malfunction. So today we want to talk about the bioscan and its connection with the detox process. There have been many programs out there, detoxification processes, but this one in particular is connected with biofeedback technology. The reason it's connected with biofeedback technology is because, one, we need to understand what's going on in the cells, and we need to also know where in your body are you storing waste and toxicity. Because based upon that information, we now have a better idea of what the root cause of a condition is. And so with Sharon, she spoke about fibroids and cysts. Well, when we discovered that Sharon had a severe fatty liver, which was never really told to her by the medical doctors, to my understanding. And then sometimes they will tell you have a fatty liver, but then they really don't go into what that means, because chances are they may not know what that means. But when I saw the severe fatty liver, and then I realized Sharon she wasn't a drinker. So you have two types of fatty livers. You have a non-alcoholic fatty liver, and you have an alcoholic fatty liver. And then you got some people that's probably dealing with a little bit of both if you're a drinker. But because Sharon wasn't a drinker, her fatty liver was dealing with something else, which is food, which was sweets. These are the things that can affect the liver as well, which can also lead to diabetes. It starts off as insulin resistance, where your cells are resisting the insulin because your body is oversaturated with it. But that doesn't stop the pancreas from releasing the insulin. So it's going to keep releasing it because of the presence of the sugar. But what happens is, over time, your pancreas starts becoming depleted of the insulin. And now when your cells actually do need sugar, guess what? The insulin is not sufficient. So now you're dealing with diabetes. We couldn't have known this. We couldn't have seen this unless we had first scanned the person's body, find out what the cells were saying, because it's about a communication. When you start communicating with your body, when you start communicating with your organs, your tissues, and your cells, then now you start to know thyself. If you don't know thyself and you have all these symptoms and alarms going off, you have no idea why they're going off. Every sign and symptom is really nothing but an alarm going off that's pointing to an imbalance. Let me say that again. All signs and symptoms are nothing but alarms going off that's pointing to an imbalance. Best analogy I can give you, let's say there's a house on fire. God forbid it's any one of you guys' house. But let's say that there's a house on fire and someone pulls the alarm. Fire trucks hear the alarm. They start heading towards the fire. They can see the fire from a distance. They get to the house. House is on fire. They run in with their equipment and they look for the alarm and they shut the alarm off. And they come out of the house, get back into their truck and head back to the firehouse. But they forgot to do something. They forgot to put out the fire. And that's unfortunately our healthcare industry, our so-called healthcare industry. And I'm gonna probably interchange medical industry with so-called healthcare industry, but it's still the same thing. And the reason I wanna say that is because ultimately I'm gonna set a petition. And this is a bold petition to rename this healthcare system. When God gave me the information and the revelation that this healthcare system needs to be renamed because people are getting the wrong impression. We think that this medical system is healthcare, and it's not. It's crisis care. It's immediate care. It's urgent care. It's emergency care, but it's not healthcare. Healthcare should be partnered with the word holistic. Holistic healthcare now makes sense because if you look at the word health, what's the root word of health? Heal. There's not a lot of healing going on in the medical industry because when you're talking about pharmaceutical drugs, operations, surgeries, that's not about healing the body. Now, the body does heal later on down the line, but it's not from the surgeries. It's not necessarily from the medication because those are making the body more toxic. And it's also making the body more dysfunctional. Because if you take out my prostate, I'm gonna have problems. If you take out a woman's uterus, you're gonna have some problems down the line. You know, God forbid, I know some of you may have gotten hysterectomies, some of you may have gotten prostatectomies. I get it, I understand. Some of you got tonsillectomies, where you got your tonsils taken out. God did not make a mistake. When he put everything in our body, he didn't accidentally put something in there that doesn't belong. He didn't forget to put something in there that should have been there that should have made everything work better. No, everything that's in your body is supposed to be there. Tonsils are supposed to be there. It's just that a lot of medical doctors don't understand what tonsils are really for. The prostate, if it gets enlarged, there's a way to shrink it, just like a fibroid. If a fibroid starts growing, there's a reason that it's growing. Our goal is to ascertain the reason that is growing, the reason a prostate is enlarged, the reason your blood sugar is not functioning properly, and the reason that your heart is not pumping properly. Once you understand the reason, the underlying root cause, then guess what? Now we can address it perfectly. Now we can address the root cause, eradicate it, not treat it. My choice, when you give a person back their ability to choose, they choose, do you want to treat your condition or do you want to eradicate it? Do you want to treat your high blood pressure or do you want to eradicate it? Do you want to treat your cancer or do you want to eradicate it? Do you want to treat your heart disease, which is the #1 cause of death in America? Or do you want to erase it permanently, eradicate it, never see it again? This is your option now. We never had this type of option. You know why? Because we were all born into the same system. They called healthcare. We were all born into that same medical system. And just like you and me, we both got what? We all got what? We all got poked with needles as soon as we came into this world. We got poked with all these vaccines, even before the baby had a developed immune system. And we wonder why autism has increased 3,000%. You don't hear about that because this is the stuff that they're not gonna report to you. You're not gonna hear this on the radio, not gonna hear this in the media. You may get it online somewhere on TikTok and you hear about these statistics, but it's not gonna be mainstream because pharmaceutical companies is the reason why that these commercials are being played at night. Because the thing about it, at nighttime, when you're starting to get into your drowsy state, right? You're drowsy, you're sleepy, your subconscious mind becomes more receptive. So they kind of know what they're doing. And the goal is to continue to program us. And it's through marketing that we start learning stuff that's really not pertinent to our health. So going back to biofeedback technology, the goal of the bioscan is to identify where your body is storing waste and toxins. When waste accumulates in your body, and based upon our lifestyle, I know I grew up eating beef, pork, chicken, turkey, lamb, maybe a little frog, maybe a little, something. I don't know. My grandmother had me eating all type of interesting meats. She gave me something called Mount oysters. I'm not going to talk about what those, but I don't see how anybody can eat something called Mount oysters. And it was part of the pig. I mean, not the pig, but the cow. But we ate all of this different food only to find out later that human beings were never designed to eat animals. Let me say that again. Human beings were never designed by God, by nature, to consume animal protein. That's not our life script. So let's start there. And let me explain this, because a carnivore has characteristics of a carnivore. Omnivore has similar characteristics to a carnivore. Omnivore and a carnivore are designed to eat animal flesh because that's their diet, that's their life script. So therefore, they have characteristic teeth. They have a characteristic digestive system, which is a shorter digestive system than ours. They have a certain type of jaw, a hinged jaw, as opposed to a jaw that moves in a circular motion. So if you want to know what your life script is, look to nature, because nature is not fallen. We are. So when you look at a cow, horse, giraffe, elephants, these are herbivores. Herbivores do not eat meat. Herbivores do not eat other animals. And so when you look at their characteristics, we have similar characteristics as a horse. We chew in a circular motion, just like a cow. All right, we have a longer digestive tract. And that's important because when you think about the fact that animal protein under a certain temperature has to travel a long way to get out of the body, what is it doing inside? It's putrefying. It's rotten, and it's causing gastrointestinal issues, which is what we're seeing. We're seeing colitis, we're seeing gastric intestinal cancer, we're seeing colon cancer, we're seeing diverticulitis. These have to do with the corroding of the gastrointestinal lining. So one of the things on the bioscan, and I do believe that you guys had 4 reports that you saw. There's a lot more reports on the scan, but when we're at big events, we can't just sit down with a person for an hour and go through all those scans. So what we do is we set up 4 reports. One is heart, brain. That's the first report. Liver, kidneys, and then the one that talks about your pH. Those are very important to someone, and that's a sufficient amount of information when you're dealing with a large mass of people at an event for them to be able to ascertain if they are candidates for the cleansing and detoxification process. But let me say this, everyone of color, everyone that's not of color, everyone should be cleansing and detoxifying at least once or twice a year. Why? Because one of the main causes, and you're not going to hear this too many places, one of the main causes of disease is not viruses. It's not bacteria. It's not fungus. It's not yeast. We were taught that viruses, bacteria, fungus, yeast are the cause of disease. I tell you this with great certainty. They are not causing disease. They are responding to disease. Yep, viruses, bacteria, fungus, and yeast, they are actually designed by God to assist in the preservation of the organism, which is you. In other words, their goal is to keep you alive, not to bring disease and death to you. Well, how did we how did we get to the point of turning against our own microorganisms, our own microbes? Well, because you were taught that they were your enemies. And so you turn against them. So if you have an infection, what do? They give you antibiotics. Biotics means life. Anti, obviously, you know. So what does that mean? That means against life. So antibiotics are actually against life. Yeah, they may help with the reducing the proliferation of the microbes, but the microbes are not the cause of the disease. So getting rid of the microbes does not address the cause of the disease. The microbes, and what I mean by microbes, virus, bacteria, fungi, yeast, they're sanitation workers. They're sanitation workers. In other words, their job is to assist the body in cleaning up organic dead matter and toxic waste. This is their job. Their job is to clean up organic matter, dead matter, and toxic waste. When the body reaches a point where the immune system, which is also responsible for cleaning up the toxic waste, when it's overloaded with toxic waste, and now it needs a little bit of help. So guess what happens? The help that it needs does not come from the outside. The help that your body needs comes from the inside of your body. In other words, viruses, bacteria, fungus, yeast is not something you catch. It's something that's endogenous. In other words, natural from within your own body. Yes, your body creates these microorganisms. They start off as what's called somatids, S-O-M-A-T-I-D, somatids. Sometimes they're called microzymes, but these were discovered many years ago by a gentleman. I'll give you his name later, but they were discovered many years ago under a live microscope. They had to actually create a microscope that can see these microzymes because a normal microscope can't. So under the microscope, they saw these little particles. All I can say, they look like little dots, little microbes, but they're indestructible, which means you see them on dead material, you see them on live material, but they're indestructible. Well, what's the purpose of them? They morph. They call them pleomorphic. In other words, they're able to morph into multiple organisms. So they can morph into a bacteria. They can morph into a virus. They can morph into a fungus. They can morph into yeast. So what are you telling me? A virus, a bacteria, a fungus are not single organisms. They're a part of a succession of formation of organisms based upon the condition of the tissue and the cell. So if the tissue and the cell is toxic, then these little somatids, these little microzymes form into bacteria, form into fungus in order to assist in eating up the toxic waste that's in the body. But when the doctor does a throat culture, what does he see? He sees microorganisms. So what do you think he thinks is causing the disease? The microorganisms. But those are not causing disease. So we're giving them a bad rap. We've been turned against nature. Heck, we've been turned against ourselves. And you can't win that war. As you can see, we're not winning that war. It's pretty obvious right now. So what do we need? We need correct information. We need to turn this thing around because we're losing loved ones left and right. And we're doing all of the wrong things, like taking vaccines. Yes, a vaccine is very toxic and poisonous. So listen to what I just said. If viruses, bacteria, and fungus are responding to the condition of the cells and the tissue because of the toxicity, and I'm introducing a vaccine that's even more toxic to the body because I'm trying to destroy the viruses and the bacteria and the fungus, which are not really your enemy, they're not your enemy, then I'm doing everything the wrong way, expecting the right results. That sounds a little bit like insanity. And we've been doing it generation after generation after generation. So when it comes to biofeedback technology, we now can ascertain what's going on in your liver, in your kidneys, in your heart, in your brain, based upon the vitality or the signal that's coming from those organs. So the way the bioscan it operates, every second of the day, over 100 million cells are divided. Every time they divide, there's a frequency that is emitted from this division. The bioscan picks up that frequency, plots it against where it should be based upon where it is. Now we know where the toxins are. Now we know where the poisons are suffocating the tissue and cells, because if the cell doesn't have an environment where it can breathe, it's not going to give you a strong signal. If the cell can breathe, the signal is strong. If toxins is suffocating the area, if toxins is accumulating in the tissue, then that signal is not going to be a strong signal. And that's how we know, based upon biofeedback technology, that area is one of the target areas that needs to be cleansed and flushed out. So with Sharon, when we saw a severe fatty liver, that means that her liver was clogged up. Well, what's the purpose of the liver? Your liver is designed to clean your blood. Your liver is designed to detoxify your blood. Doesn't scripture say the life of the flesh is in the blood? The life of the flesh is in the blood. So if your blood is polluted, then you're not even a worthy sacrifice unto God. Because even when God was taking sacrificial, when we're doing sacrificial law, which is no longer today, he didn't take the blemished animals. He took the clean animals. That means he wanted a clean offering, not a blemished offering. So if your blood is polluted, then that may explain why there's a lot of conditions, diseases, and issues, not just in your body, but also in your life. What I've seen when people go through the cleanse, when they detox, it's like a mystical sacrifice onto God, because what you're doing is you're becoming a living sacrifice, which is your reasonable service. And so when you clean, when you fast, you're actually cleaning your blood, you're fleshing your liver, you're fleshing your kidneys, and now your blood is being cleaned. So one of the two things on the first report is blood viscosity. That's one of the first things on there. So I know a lot of you, when it comes to blood viscosity, the thickness of your blood gets thick when your blood gets polluted. Let me say that again. Your blood gets thicker when your blood gets polluted. What do we say? We say, well, my metabolism is slowing down. And what do we attribute it to? We attribute it to aging. So we say, well, as I get older, my metabolism is slowing down, so that's just how it is. But it turns out that with biofeedback, we can now see why the blood is thickening. And based upon that information, we can start to thin out the blood naturally, not with heparin, all the stuff that they use in the hospital, blood thinners. Now that's the toxic way of thinning your blood. Now, if there's an emergency and you have clots in your lungs, clots in your bloodstream, then yeah, they may need some heparin. They may need something acute in order to correct that. But don't stay on that medication. If it's an emergency, stabilize, but then go holistic after that, because there are many different things that you can use to thin your blood out. Like one, ginger. Ginger breaks up clots. And then you have different things like in pineapple, bromelain. You have cayenne pepper. So these are natural things that I've used before to help people to dissolve clots even in their lungs. Heart and brain has let us know when a person was moving towards a heart attack or when a person was moving towards a stroke. If there's plaque buildup in your coronary arteries, which is, what is it called? It's called coronary artery elasticity. Coronary artery elasticity. On the scan, it may show to the left. So any indicator to the left means decrease. So if there's a decrease in your elasticity, then what does that mean? That means that your arteries are hardening. Well, what's hardening our arteries? Plaque buildup on the walls of the vascular system. So that's how we know if you're building up plaque that's moving you towards a heart attack. But then if you go down to the last two on your report, which is cerebral blood vessel elasticity, and then also brain tissue blood supply.
Do you want me to pull up one of the reports so that they can see it?
Yeah, you know what? Can you share?
Yeah.
Yeah, use your share. Okay, thanks, Sharon. I appreciate it. So the last two items on your first report has to do with your brain. If you have a decrease in plaque, a decrease in the elasticity in your cerebral blood vessels, if you have a decrease in elasticity in your cerebral blood vessels, then you have an increase of plaque buildup in your brain. And what does that mean? So scroll down, square it out, Sharon. Right there. Okay, that's good. So if you look at the two bottom ones, cerebral blood vessel elasticity, brain tissue blood supply status. Now with this sample, and this is just a sample, this person would be normal. Okay, so there's no plaque in the brain and there's no decrease of blood supply to the brain. But if there's a indicator moving to the left of the green, let's say mild, that means that there's a mild decrease of elasticity, or a moderate decrease, or a severe decrease. What you can see is that nothing happens suddenly. We think that something happened suddenly. We think that it's something that just came out of nowhere. No, we're all moving at our own pace towards the crisis. This is the scariest part. When I discovered this many years ago, it was very disturbing that we're all waiting on the crisis. We're all being prepped to gradually progress towards a crisis, because that's the healthcare system, okay, so-called healthcare system that we were all born into, which means we're all procrastinating in our health. And until now, a lot of people didn't realize that even though they're feeling good, even though things are great, energy is all right, they're progressing at some pace towards heart disease. They're progressing at some pace towards a stroke. What I discovered also is that everyone, and I do mean everyone, that eats animal protein, meat, everyone is moving towards a heart attack. Everyone is moving towards a stroke. It's just a matter of when. But the path to a stroke and to a heart attack is inevitable upon meat consumption. Now, I thank you for the question. So someone asked, well, what about fish? Let me explain this. We're gonna keep this chart up. So get this. You as a human being, and I'm gonna ask you a question, and I want you guys to interact with me too. So get on that keyboard and get ready to do some typing, okay? This ain't gonna just be me talking. We're gonna be learning this together. So this is a life-changing topic. It's a life-changing information. What is the human body temperature? What is our normal body temperature of the human body? What is the normal body temperature of the human body? Did you say 78? Okay, 98. You must have typed that 7 too fast. So 98.6. Now let me ask you a question. This is an important question. What is the body temperature of a cow? What is the body, and I'll give you a chance to look it up. What is the body temperature of a cow? $100, 100, 101, 102, 105. Okay, got it. Somebody said 145. Well, I'm gonna tell you, anything over 100 is gonna help with this explanation, because it says that it's about 100 to 102.5, 100 to 102.5. Now, the reason I asked you to do this because think about the body temperature of beef as opposed to the body temperature of your body. Their proteins and their oils are stable under 102. So when you consume the beef and your body temperature is only 98.6 degrees, what do you think is about to not happen? You're not going to break down that protein or them oils as well as you need to in order to process it through the body. So what's happening is that it's gonna cause sludge in your vascular system because it's having a hard time breaking down those proteins. This is one of the main reasons why we were not designed to eat animals. Our body temperature is not sufficient to break down their proteins. Now, let's look at fish. What's the body temperature of a fish? Let's see, fish. Right. So a fish swimming in 40-degree water will have a body temperature near 40 degree or 60. What are we learning? We're learning that your body temperature is higher than what's in the sea, but it's not higher than what's on the land. So to answer your question, you're going to be able to break down the proteins of that fish. You're going to be able to break down the proteins of that oil because fish oil is in the health food store. Cow oil is not. Cow oil is in your neighborhood grocery store. So somebody say, you see, yeah. So fish have a lower body temperature, and as you can see, based upon their body temperature, when you consume fish, your body temperature is sufficient to break it down. So fish is not going to clog up your system like beef, pork, chicken, turkey, lamb. You see, I wanted you to see that because it's not enough for me to tell you. I want you to understand why. Because when you have an addiction, the only thing that can help you with that addiction is understanding the consequences of that addiction. And that will help you to start moving away from it. Because if it's not good for you and you understand why it's not good for you, then it may not be still as easy to do, but you'll have more motivation to do it. You get it? Most of the people that are scanning and they're seeing all these things on their report, it's because one, we've been eating meat for so long. When we were younger, we were able to process it a little bit better. But as you get older, your system is not processing it as well. And one of the reports, Sharon, I want you to pull up, because they've seen this report, pull up the gastrointestinal report. I want to show you guys something.
All right, give me just a moment, guys. I gotta make a few adjustments.
So okay, so you're gonna pull up the so I'm gonna show you the gastrointestinal. So put gastrointestinal, large intestines on there.
Mm-hmm. Anything else?
No, that'll be it. That'll be perfect. I want you to understand how important it is to know what's going on in your gut, because 70% of your immune system is in your gut. 70% of your immune system is in your gut. Anita, whose hand is raised?
Yes, I just had a quick question because
Yes.
I wanted the participants to kind of understand. I know it says, yellow, blue, green, but it's yellow, blue, green on one side and red, and then it's blue, yellow, red on the other side. So I wanted you to kind of explain what each one means. I mean, I know it says what the normal range is and what that person's range is, but if you could, like for this one that you have a gastric peristalsis function coefficient, this person is at 58.071 and they're in the blue. What does in the blue on the left side mean? So if you could explain it that way, because I wanted everyone to kind of understand what they're looking at and what it means if their color's on the left or if their color's on the right.
And yeah, thank you for that, because I don't know exactly where everyone is. I don't know if you've seen the video, if stuff has been explained to you. So I do need a little bit of direction as to what to focus on.
Well, we did ask everybody to pull up their own so that they can look at theirs while you're explaining what it means. So that way it's private. They can look at their own while you're explaining it.
Great. So let's do this. So we're going to keep these reports on the Sharon, but let's go back to the first report, and then we're going to go over that.
Hold on.
Okay, take your time. Take your time. I'm gonna be off the screen for a minute, but you're gonna still hear my voice. Okay. Okay, so give me a full page. All right, so we're gonna start from here, Sharon. I'm gonna have you start from the top, Sharon. Explain it from the top all the way down, as if you were doing a bioscan. Okay, and then I'm gonna go over the actual items.
Okay.
So explain it as if you're doing the bioscan. So everyone, if you have your scans in front of you, pull them up.
Okay, so this is the very first report: cardiovascular and cerebrovascular, heart and brain. These items here are the items tested. Second column is your normal range. Third column is where you are, and the color code reflects where you are. Green represents this normal range. Blue is mildly abnormal, yellow is moderately abnormal, and red is severe. So everything on the right side of green indicates an increase. Everything on the left side of green indicates a decrease. You want me to continue? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so starting at the top with blood viscosity. So for this person, it's in normal range, but if it were out of normal range, it would typically be elevated. And as Dr. Prince explained earlier, that blood viscosity is about the thickness of the blood. So if it is elevated, you're gonna have thicker blood, which means that your blood is polluted. And typically it's polluted with this third item, which is blood fat. So they typically go hand in hand. If the blood fat is elevated, usually the blood viscosity is going to be elevated. And blood fat will be to the left as well. And of course, that blood fat we know comes from animal consumption.
Exactly.
Then here we have cholesterol crystal. For this person, it is elevated. Cholesterol is typically, if it's out of normal range, it's going to be elevated. So it will be to the right. And cholesterol has to do with the animal consumption and your liver. So your liver produces enough cholesterol on its own. It doesn't need any assistance. But when we consume the animal products, we're adding that animal's cholesterol to our own. Now we have high amounts of cholesterol, and now that excess cholesterol is also in the blood, and it's creating problems for the heart.
Exactly.
Next item up is vascular resistance. So when we talk about vascular, we're talking about the arteries that surround the heart. When there is vascular resistance out of normal range, it will be elevated, meaning that there is a buildup of pressure in those arteries. And that pressure is an indication of how you are processing and handling stress. So it's going to be important to better manage the stress. With this person, their their resistance or that pressure is mild. However, I have seen many times where it was moderate and even severe. So how we treat stressful situations is going to be very important. So no situation itself is important, but how you respond to that situation is. I always tell people, if there is a situation that comes up that you can handle and you can fix it, then just fix it. But if it is beyond your control, you have no control over it, you cannot fix it, then there is no need for you to stress and worry about it. You got to let it go. And then you need to do certain things to help manage your stress. Stress is always going to come up. That's a part of life. So managing your stress with things like exercise, meditation, certain body work like yoga, which takes your mind and focuses your thoughts so that you're not so focused on the stress. Being out in nature helps to relieve stress as well. So start researching different ways of better managing your stress. Next item here is vascular elasticity. If this is out of normal range, it's going to be to the right, and it's going to be at a decrease. And this is also something Dr. Prince mentioned a few moments ago. When it comes to those arteries around the heart and there being a decrease in elasticity, means that there is plaque buildup, means that those arteries are hardening. And of course, we know now that that comes from animal consumption. So we need to take a break from the animals and start focusing our attention on dissolving that plaque. We've been led to believe that once you have plaque buildup in the arteries, then surgery is inevitable at some point. That is not true. You can dissolve this plaque. It takes flushing, cleansing, and detoxing your system. Next item is myocardial blood demand. And when this is out of normal range, it will be elevated to the left. So myocardial blood demand means that your heart is working harder than it should have to in order to meet the 60-second demand of blood filling up your heart chambers. We want to make sure that there is sufficient blood. So we have to work on strengthening the heart. That's where your cardiovascular exercise is going to come in at. Some people have gotten very sedentary in their lifestyle, and so they don't move very much, which is now affecting their heart output. So we need to make sure that we are getting at least 3 to 4 days of cardiovascular exercise every week. It is not an option. It is mandatory. Next item, myocardial blood perfusion volume. When this is out of normal range, it is typically going to be at a decrease. So when there is a decrease in perfusion volume, that indicates that the amount of blood in your heart chambers at the time perfusion happens, and perfusion is that exchange of gases, carbon dioxide and oxygen, as they saturate the tissues of your heart. If the blood is too low when that happens, or I'm sorry, this is indicating that if it's out of normal range, this is indicating that there's weakness in the heart as well. So we want to make sure that we strengthen the heart so that that volume of blood can be full or can meet the demand that it should at the time perfusion happens.
Exactly. So, and also just to explain it even, in addition, myocardial blood flow can be defined as the volume of blood transiting through the tissue at a certain rate, which means that if there is a decrease in the volume, then that rate of transit getting to where it's supposed to be is at a decrease. Now, this is important because when you look back at myocardial blood demand, which is the amount of blood the heart demands every 60 seconds. This means that your heart has to meet a deadline. And the reason it has to meet that deadline, because you have to look at your body as a corporation. And it's incorporated with a lot of microorganisms, with a lot of cells, a lot of enzymes, a lot of microbes. And so you are about 50 trillion cells, roughly 50 trillion cells. But you started off as one cell. Your mother gave you a cell, your dad gave you a cell, fertilized that one cell, that egg started to dividing and it started proliferating. And now, as of today, you're about 50 trillion cells. What does this mean? This means you have 50 trillion employees that are working to keep you alive. And I'm not even talking about the microorganisms. I'm just talking about the cells in your body. You have billions and trillions of viruses and bacteria that are already in your body that's also helping to keep you alive. And so remember, those microbes are going to respond to the condition of your cells. The microbes are going to respond to the condition of your cells because they know the priority of your life. They know that those cells have to be able to breathe. They have to be able to work. They have to be able to have the supplies that they need in order to function perfectly. So if you're not meeting that deadline, then your employees are not getting their supply. If they're not getting their supply, they may strike. If they strike in the liver, that can lead to heart disease. If it strikes in the uterus, that can lead to fibroids. If they strike in the prostate, that can lead to prostate cancer. So that's why it's important to meet that demand. So when we talk about exercise, exercise is not just so you can look good. It's so that you can get the amount of oxygen, nutrients to the tissues, to the cells, so that they can perform the job that they're supposed to perform in the best way that they can. Also, the exercise helps not only with the delivery of nutrition to the tissue and cells, but also to the waste removal from the cells. Guess what? Every cell in your body is a mini you. I can take one cell from your body and recreate you, which they're probably doing on the planet right now. Why? Because every last one of your cells has the genetic information that every other cell in your body has. And that makes sense, because if you start off as one cell, but now you're 50 trillion cells, well, what did that first cell have? It had all of the genetic information called you. And when it divided, it gave that genetic information to the daughter cell. That daughter gave it to the next daughter, and they just kept on proliferating and growing until now you're this fully human being with all this information in every last one of your cells to recreate you over and over. So in truth, the cell was here before you. These cells came together in a community to create the human organism. And so every cell has an organelle, just like you have organs. You see, your cell breathes just like you breathe. Your cell has a bowel movement just like you have a bowel movement. So I want you to really think about the fact that you have 50 trillion little employees working on your behalf every day to keep you alive. So if that demand is at an increase, your heart is working harder to try to meet that deadline. Well, Sharon, what are the three things that causes the heart to weaken?
Stress. And there's a difference between bad stress and good stress. Good stress is that stress you get when you are working out. Mm-hmm. But that bad stress, that day-to-day, this is happening at work and this is happening at home, that's your bad stress, and that causes the heart to weaken. Mm-hmm. Our food choices also can cause weakness in the heart. When we're consuming those heavy animals, we're consuming foods that make our bodies acidic, such as those white foods, those weaken the heart. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And you said there was a third thing.
So diet, stress, and the lack of exercise. Diet, stress, and you kind of covered them both.
Okay.
But yeah, but a lack of exercise, also hurts because when you exercise, you release a lot of happy hormones. You know, dopamine, serotonin. This makes you feel good. And so when you're not exercising, you're releasing the stress hormones. So either you're releasing happy hormones or you're releasing stress hormones, but never both. So if you're not exercising and you're stressing yourself out, then you're releasing cortisol, which is a stress hormone. And guess what? Cortisol cannot be processed well by the body. So guess what the body does with cortisol? Guess what the body does with stress hormones? It stores it in fat tissue. Yep. Weight gain is coming from stress because your body can't process those stress hormones. So that's why it's important to exercise. That's why it's important to have a good diet, because meat, let's talk about the meat. Meat is making your heart work harder, which means it's working overtime to try to process and break down, of course, the animal protein. So think about that. When you're in your, let's say 18, and you're eating a lot of meat, which I did when I was 18, there was no holds barred. I was beef, pork, chicken, turkey, lamb, and all of it in one day. I probably did bacon in the morning, chicken at lunch, beef in the evening, bacon, chicken, lunch. I mean, bacon, chicken, beef, breakfast, lunch, dinner. And many of us were doing it. Sometimes we may only have 2 meals a day where there's meat. Some people may do 1. But the point is that this is what we've been doing most of our life. So by the time you turn 35, 40, you have weakened your heart so much with all of the burden from trying to consume all of this animal, to the point where your heart just starts falling behind in what? In its demand. It's not meeting that demand because of the meat. So that's why I wanted to kind of point that out, because I want you to understand how important it is to understand that the diet that we all have been given was never conducive for long life. But our parents didn't know that. Our grandparents didn't know that. They did what they could for us, and they felt like they was helping us out. And then, of course, stress. They say over 90% of all hospital visits now are stress related. So that means stress is the foundation of every condition that we're experiencing. So if we don't manage this stress, guess what happens? Your heart rate starts to fall behind. What do I mean by that? Fight or flight. Fight or flight. That's your autonomic nervous system kicking in. Now, let me say this. Stress is good when it's used properly. Stress is good when it's used properly. Now, who uses it properly? The gazelle, the deer, the animals in the wild use stress the way it's supposed to be used. You know why? Because they don't have the ability, or shall I say, the inability or disability to consciously cut their stress response on and off. They don't have that ability. If they're in danger, it cuts on, they get out of there. They either fight, flee, or hide. Fight, fright, or flight. Fight, fright, or fight. When the gazelle is being chased, the fight or flight is on. So that stress response is working in his favor. If he gets away from the lion, man, it did what it was supposed to do, preserve his life. But then once the chase is over, the lion decides that he can't catch the gazelle. And just a little bit of information, you know why he can't catch the gazelle? Because the gazelle is an herbivore and the lion is a carnivore. The lion doesn't have the endurance because of his diet. The gazelle, because he's an herbivore, has the endurance. The reason I'm saying that is because as a vegan, I'm 53 years young, and my first college track meet of the season was this last Saturday. So I compete at the college level because of my diet. And so the diet makes a difference, because with your diet, you have energy, you have stamina, you have endurance. But if you're a meat eater, you start losing your endurance, you start losing your stamina, and guess what? You start losing your erection. Yep, that's what ED is coming from. And I know it because I've had to help a lot of men get it up, because they thought that eating meat was masculine because that's what they were taught. Well, it turns out that eating meat is not that masculine, especially once you turn 60. You realize, man, it was really never masculine. It was just marketing, not masculine. So that's why it's important to learn how to manage your stress properly, because human beings are the only ones that can think about something and put their body into a stress response. Mm-hmm. You don't even have to be in a life-threatening situation. You can be sitting at your dining room table and thinking about what happened to your work, or you can be on a Sunday night getting ready for Monday, and you're stressing yourself out because you got to go into a job where you really don't like the job. You don't like the people around you. You're not making enough money. You're working too hard. So you're stressed out before you even get to the job, mm-hmm. because you're able to cut it on with your mind. Animals, fortunately, don't have the ability to do that. So stress is not killing them. Stress is saving their life. Stress is killing us. All right, go ahead, Sharon.
Okay, next item is myocardial oxygen consumption. So when this is out of normal range, it's going to be elevated. And this person is elevated mildly. So this means that your heart is demanding more oxygen. It's falling behind in its oxygen input. So we want to make sure that we're getting that exercise in so that we can strengthen the heart and make sure that we're getting that deep breath, mm-hmm. so that we're increasing our oxygen input.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. And if you notice too, Sharon, that let them know that, when myocardial blood demand is at an increase, usually, of course, myocardial oxygen consumption is at an increase. It kind of partners together as viscosity and blood fat, because if your heart is working harder, of course, it's asking for more oxygen.
Right.
So it's going to consume more oxygen. But what if you're not working out? What if you're not exercising? Then now that oxygen consumption is going to become a problem because you don't have enough available. If you don't have the oxygen available to meet the demand, then now we have problems. Okay, go ahead, next one.
Okay, next item is stroke volume. So when you see the word stroke here, that word simply means contraction. So every time the heart contracts, there has to be a certain volume of blood within the heart chambers. For this person, it is at a decrease. So whenever it's out of normal range, it will be at a decrease. And so we want to make sure to strengthen the heart so that the volume of blood in the heart is sufficient at the time the heart contracts. Mm-hmm. Next item is left ventricular ejection impedance. When this is out of normal range, it's going to be elevated. So this indicates that there is an elevated impedance or an elevated resistance to the ejection of blood coming out of that left ventricle. And this also indicates that there is weakness in the heart. Sometimes it can be directly related to vascular elasticity and vascular resistance, because as that blood has to be ejected from the left ventricle, it has to flow through to the aorta, which directly connects to the vascular arteries. So we want to make sure that we're clearing out any plaque buildup, and we want to make sure that we are reducing the stress and reducing the pressure in the vascular system so that we have enough strength to eject that blood from the left ventricle. Next item is left ventricular effective pump power. And when this is out of normal range, it will typically be at a decrease. And it is exactly what it says, the power to effectively pump blood in and out of that left ventricle would be at a decrease. So we want to make sure to strengthen the heart.
Okay, excuse me, I'm sorry. I wanted to point out too that the reason it's referring to that left ventricle. What is so important about that left ventricle? Well, first of all, let's go back to biology. I hope all of you guys know that you have 4 chambers in the heart. You do know that, right? You have 4 chambers in the heart. The 2 at the top are called atrium. The 2 at the bottom are called ventricles. There's always blood in these chambers. But it turns out that the left ventricle holds about 60% of the blood that's in the heart at one time. The reason being is because that left ventricle is the fresh oxygen that has just come from the inhalation. The left ventricle is the fresh oxygen that has just come from the inhalation. So they're measuring that one because in order for your body to be properly perfused, which means in order for that gas to get into the rest of the tissue and cells, it has to come from that left ventricle. So that left ventricle ejects the blood out. First, it's going to go through the aorta, and then it's going to go up to the brain, and then, of course, down to the rest of the organs. This is why it's important to not have any impedance, because if there's any resistance to that left ventricle ejecting the blood out, then what's going to suffer? The brain. In other words, you can't have any delay of oxygen getting to the brain, because you know how that is. Your fogginess, dizziness, loss of memory. One of the first signs of degeneration and disease in the body is the brain. Alzheimer's, dementia, Parkinson's. You see what I'm saying? And then even strokes. A stroke may not necessarily be plaque buildup in the brain. A stroke may be the inadequate perfusion from the heart to the head. So if you're not getting enough oxygen up there, then yeah, you're gonna cut off some of the oxygen getting to certain parts of the brain. But not only that, but you can also send a embolism up to the brain. An embolism is a piece of plaque that breaks off and it travels right on up to the brain. So if you're dealing with heart disease, plaque buildup in the heart, then yeah, there's a possibility for an embolism to leave the heart and float right on up to the brain and cause a stroke. So it's important that that left ventricle is flowing like a river, unimpeded. And then pump power, yeah, you want to have a strong heart. So that's another reason why exercise is essential. We think it's optional. No, exercise is essential. Of course, you don't have to be 53 years young, running college track and field like me. That's just something I choose to do because I love to do it. And now I can do it. There's a lot of men in their 50s that are not about to step on the track with kids that are 30 years younger than them because, one, they don't believe that it's possible. And that's really the foundation of it, belief. If they don't believe it's possible, they're not going to do what it takes in order to be able to be competitive. Because I believed it was possible, I began to work, because faith without work is dead, right? So because I believed it was possible, I began putting in the work, and now it's a reality. So you have to believe that it's possible to do something, but you don't have to do it in an extreme. But yeah, if you're getting out twice a week, you're doing anything from 30 to 45 minutes, maybe an hour cardiovascular, something that just gets the heart pumping up to about 130, 140. Guess what? That's sufficient to keep your heart strong. You don't have to do a boot camp. All you have to do is get out there and exercise that heart muscle, because the only way you can build that heart muscle is through cardiovascular exercise and activity. Go ahead, Sharon, and pull the screen down a little bit more.
Okay.
I mean, up, I'm sorry. Yeah, right there, that's good.
Okay. Next item is coronary artery elasticity. So if this is out of normal range, it will be to the left. Coronary artery elasticity is talking about those arteries that are actually on the heart. And of course, as we talked about earlier with the elasticity, that's an indication of plaque buildup. So again, we want to come away from the animals and we want to start cleansing the system so that we can dissolve that plaque. This next item, coronary perfusion pressure. So this actually can be either elevated to the right or decreased to the left. Mm-hmm. If it is elevated to the right, that is also an indication of pressure building up and how you are handling and managing your stress. Mm-hmm. If it is to the left, mm-hmm. that is an indication of, once again, weakness in the heart.
Mm-hmm. A decrease.
Right, that decrease.
And you know, it is what it says. Your coronary arteries are the arteries on the heart that supplies your heart with blood. These are the ones that are actually on the heart. So if a person is dealing with chest pain, that means that one of their coronary arteries are possibly blocked. And if it's blocked, they're going to have pain in the area where that artery flows to, because it's not enough oxygen getting through that point. So that's your coronary artery. So your coronary arteries are extremely important. So if you have a decrease in elasticity in your coronaries, and I hope you guys are looking at your report right now. If you have a decrease, if you have a mild decrease or a moderate decrease, and hopefully not a severe, because you probably need to be doing something ASAP. But if you're looking at a blue or a yellow to the left in coronary artery elasticity, you need to start planning to detox as soon as possible. Maybe even before the Super Bowl. I know the Super Bowl coming up and people don't want to do nothing because, you know, they're going to wild out anyway. But let me tell you, we can't tell how long before that heart attack shows up. But one thing I know is that if you're in the blue or the yellow, a heart attack is inevitable. When? We don't know. It doesn't matter as long as you know it's coming. If you know a hurricane is coming 2 years before it hits, if you know that a hurricane is on its way and you have 2 years warning, are you going to wait until a year and 8 months before it hits? No, you're going to do something ASAP. In 2 years, you can put your house on the market. You know, you can go start looking in other cities for houses. You have plenty of time to avoid that hurricane. This is life-saving information. If you have plaque in your coronary arteries, then you definitely want to start to do something holistic, because holistically, we don't cut your chest open. You know, we're not trained to do that anyway. We can dissolve the plaque. We can dissolve it. That means that we can clean the arteries out. And we've done this before. So this isn't theory. This is how I have helped many people reverse heart disease. It doesn't matter if it's in your family. It doesn't matter if your grandmother, your father, it don't matter if the whole family passed from it or has it. When you start to detoxify your body, and to answer that question, yes, the 21-day, the 3-week process is the beginning of dissolving the plaque in your coronary arteries. The 21 days is the beginning of dissolving the plaque in your coronary arteries. And there is no simpler way to do it. There is no simpler way to do it. There's not one medication on the market that's going to help to correct coronary artery elasticity decrease. Now, they'll give you nitro. Nitro is a little bitty pill that they put under your tongue. And what it does is it dilates the blood vessels. So in other words, if you have a blocked space in your blood vessel and you take a nitro, the nitro is just going to widen the space so the blood can do what? Get around the blockage. What kind of remedy is that? Because once the nitro wears off, guess what? It's going to go right on back to that particular size. And then you got to take nitro again. Then it's going to go back. In other words, you're not correcting the issue. You're only treating a symptom. If you want to correct the issue of plaque in your coronary arteries, you have to dissolve the plaque. In other words, clean your arteries out. Once you clean them, There's no need for nitro. There's no need for any heart medication. In fact, heart disease is eradicated. Now, you tell me this. If heart disease is the #1 cause of death in America, but yet we can identify and eradicate it within 3 weeks, why is it still the #1 cause of death in America? One is because people don't know that you can reverse it. Not cure, but reverse. And yes, you'll be able to chime in and ask questions as once we finish going over the scan. Okay, so write your questions down if you have any, and then once we finish going over the scans, then we can start answering some questions. Okay, but yeah, coronary perfusion pressure. When the pressure is to the left, it's kind of like you know how when it's a hot day on your block and the kids they somehow get the fire hydrant running and the water is flowing out the fire hydrant, you know, because everybody wants to be warm. When you turn on your faucet, you get low pressure coming out of that. The pressure is low because the water is going out into the streets. Well, that's akin to coronary perfusion pressure at a decrease. You don't have enough pressure inside your coronaries to move the oxygen into the tissue. Now, the question is, why would I have low pressure in my coronaries? Well, if you're not using it, you lose it, right? Think about a person in a wheelchair who, before they got in the wheelchair, they had nice, strong legs. But then once they stop using the legs, they atrophy, they shrink. So it's the same thing with your heart. If you're not exercising, if you're stressing your heart out, then what you're doing is you're causing those coronary arteries to lose their pressure. And now you don't have enough pressure to get that oxygen into the tissue. So the heart starts to become compromised. At the same time, you don't want to have elevated pressure either, because that's a whole nother problem. So you don't want high pressure. You don't want low pressure. This is one of the items that you'll see where there's low pressure sometimes, or that you'll see where there's high pressure. And then do the last two, Sharon, on here.
Okay, so the last two are the only two on this report dealing with the brain. So cerebral blood vessel elasticity. When this is out of normal range, it will be to the left at a decrease. And this also indicates that there is plaque buildup in the blood vessels near the brain. So we want to dissolve that. Last one is brain tissue blood supply status. And as Dr. Prince spoke about earlier, what's going on in the heart is going to directly affect that blood supply getting to the brain. So if there is weakness in the heart and the heart is not able to sufficiently pump that blood against gravity to get to the brain, then there's going to be a decrease. So when this is out of normal range, it will be to the left at a decrease. So got to strengthen the heart and make sure that we have sufficient blood supply to the brain.
Mm-hmm. And I want to say, I was reading a couple of comments, and I want to say to LaDonna, it's okay to be scared, because when you're scared, you're going to do something. See, we don't know what to be scared about. We should be scared of this healthcare system. That's what we should really be scared of. But here's the scary part. We're not scared of the healthcare system,
right? Because
we trust it, because we were taught to trust it. We were conditioned to trust it. And this is the problem. This is a generational dilemma. We're trusting a system. And get this. We're trusting the third leading cause of death in America. First is heart disease. The second is cancer. Y'all probably didn't know what the third leading cause of death in America was. It's medical error and medical treatment. I promise you can Google that right now. Type in third leading cause of death in America. A term gonna come up called iatrogenic, which is death from medical error and medical treatment based upon statistics. That's something to be scared of. But for some reason, we're not scared of that. we've been turned around. We're afraid of God and his medicine. There's nothing wrong with having a fear of God, but we're afraid to try God because we've been conditioned to man's medicine. This process is all about God. It's all about his natural medicine. It's all about his natural process. It's all about respecting the organism that he created in us, the mechanisms, the immunity that he created in us. If we don't respect that, then we have been turned against the Father. And you know you can't win that one. We're not winning it. Look around. We're not winning the war against nature. Think about that for a second, you guys. If God created microorganisms to assist in keeping you alive, why do you think they're going to mutate? They're mutating because they can't afford to die. Because God gave them a mandate and they're going to do whatever they can to keep that mandate, to keep you alive. You're working harder against your own body, against your own friendly microbes than with them. This process helps you now to work with your nature, work with your microbes to assist you in healing and also to assist you in staying alive and eradicating disease. So we're bringing into the world what the world needs, a second line of care. So now you understand what I mean by starting a petition to rename this so-called healthcare system. Now it should make sense, because if you think that this healthcare system is healing your body, then you keep going to the wrong person for the right reasons. But if we branch off from crisis care management and we create holistic healthcare, now in holistic healthcare, we address the root cause. In crisis care, we address the symptoms. In holistic healthcare, we eradicate the disease. In crisis care, we treat the symptoms. You see where I'm going with this? Now we're back in proper perspective. Now you can ask someone, okay, so what do you want to do? You want to treat your condition, or would you like to eradicate it? Well, obviously, some people may say, I just want to treat it today. That's your choice. At least you chose that. But what if you want to eradicate it? What if you just want to remove permanently? Then now you have that choice. You see, if God did not take away our free will, then why is man taking it away? We have to get back our free will, because right now we're dying because we don't have a choice. You get it? All right, Sharon, let's go to the next one. Let's go to liver.
Okay. Okay, liver function, protein metabolism.
Got you. So protein metabolism. So the primary role of a liver is in the regulation of the metabolism of amino acids and proteins. Amino acids and proteins. So here's the thing. We do need protein. We just don't need animal protein. In fact, that's the worst protein to be consuming, animal protein. And now you know why. Now you're clear why it doesn't agree with our body. Now you are clear why America is so sick. We're sick. We're the sickest country in the world, but we're the richest country. How is that possible? Well, one, we're sick because we are a country of herbivores eating like carnivores. Let me say that again. We are a country of herbivores who believes we're carnivores. That's why heart disease is number one. Ignorance. So if you want to know the real cause of disease, ignorance is the real cause. Isaiah says what? He says, we perish for a lack of knowledge. And that's exactly what you're seeing every day. We're perishing. Our kids are having issues. So we have to do something. I've been cleansing and detoxing for years. And guess what? I do not plan on stopping. I don't age anymore past 12 months. You know why? Because with detoxification, I'm able to reset my body. You know, like a computer, when a computer reaches a point where it's so much on it and it starts getting ready to crash, and you take it back to its default, then you've just cleared all of the stuff off the computer. The computer don't crash. Now it's refurbished. You guys have to refurbish your body because it's about to crash. You know, even when it comes to your blood, you're changing the oil in your car every 3,000 to 5,000 miles religiously, but you don't clean your blood. If you don't clean your blood, it's the same thing. Viscosity of blood, viscosity of oil. The reason we change the oil in our cars is because when that viscosity increases in your car, it's gonna lock up your engine. Same thing with your blood. When the viscosity in your blood increases, it's gonna lock up your heart, which is why heart disease is the #1 cause of death in America. We're treating our cars better than our bodies. Sorry, I got a little loud on that. So anyway, animal protein. We don't need animal protein. All we need from our diet is 9 essential amino acids. 9 essential amino acids. Your body uses about 20 amino acids, but 9 of them have to come from our diet. So when you eat a complete protein, let's say a chicken breast, it's a complete protein because it has all of the essential amino acids and even some more. It has all of the essential amino acids that your body needs to recreate any other protein that's needed and required by your body. Okay, so all you need are 9 of those essential amino acids. Okay, so, and yes, you can consume sea moss during the 21-day cleanse. So guess what? A banana has all of the essential amino acids. A banana, believe it or not. So a banana is a complete protein. Now let's do this. Let's compare. You got a chicken breast, which, you know, we used to love them chicken breasts. I used to. Then you got a banana. I love bananas. I love bananas even more now. It's going to take more energy to break down the chicken breast in order to get to those amino acids than it is to break down the banana and to get to those amino acids. You see? Now, some of you I'm using bananas as an example. I'm not saying everybody needs to be eating bananas. If you're blood type A, bananas may be on your avoid list, but it's not what you do some of the time. It's what you're doing all of the time. And we'll talk about that later on. But I'm using banana because I want you to understand that when you eat a banana, you're conserving energy. A lot more energy than when you eat the chicken breast. The reason being is because if you're eating meat year after year after year after year, which is what we have been doing, then you're expending a lot of your life force energy trying to break down this dense substance. And I'm going to show you before we come off, I'm going to show you in your gastrointestinal region what's happening in your body. I'm going to show you what's happening. And what's happening is that your body is laboring year after year in order to break it down to the point where your heart has to work harder in order to help break down and process that meat. Well, meanwhile, you know, I'm vegan, Sharon's vegan. Yeah, we do plant-based protein, but guess what? It doesn't require as much energy, which is why we don't get the itis after a meal. We're not sleepy after we eat a vegan protein meal. But if you eat a big, heavy Thanksgiving meal, what happens to you after? You get what's called the itis. You get sleepy. Why are you sleepy? Because now your body has to rally all of this energy in order to start breaking down and digesting the food that you just ate. That's why you're getting sleepy. You see, we think it's just, you're just full and happy. Yeah, you might be full and happy, but now you gotta interrupt your day and rest until your body takes care of that. If you're doing this day in and day out, at some point, you're gonna deplete your energy. A healthy human being has 100% life force energy, 100%. Guess what? Doctors can recognize disease, get this, at 30%. 30% they can recognize disease. What does that mean? That means that 70% of your energy has been lost, depleted by the time that they're able to recognize disease. 4% is the point of no return, and 0 is death. So now you understand why it's crisis care. Now you understand why it's immediate care and emergency care, because they're looking at things in the late stages. And guess what? That's their agenda. But wait, that's a problem, because if their agenda is to let you get sick, it's to let you develop a crisis so that they can get prosperous in treating your condition, that is a dilemma. That is a crime. That is wicked. And this is why this is so important right now. This is so important right now than anything else, which is why once you've done the actual detox process, once you've gone through the 21-day process, we would love for you to enroll to become a wellness coach. We would love for you to join the national team, like Sharon, like Anita, like Fred. We would love for you to do that because, for one, the wealth of the country is moving towards health and wellness. It's the future of medicine. So all those trillions of dollars that's in the pharmaceutical industry, as people start waking up, guess what? That money is going to leave the pharmaceutical industry, and guess where it's going? Right into our pockets, right into the holistic doctors' pockets, right into the wellness coaches' pockets, because we're healing each other. It's a win-win situation holistically. It's a win-lose situation over there. Now, our Father's about win-win. He doesn't require sacrifice. He requires obedience. So if we're out here just sacrificing when we should just be obedient and follow the natural way, then yeah, we're going to have a win-lose situation. But win-win means I win, you win, your mom win, your dad win, your children win. Everybody wins with this process. That's divinity. That's balance, and that's peace. So that's why protein metabolism is so important. So if your protein metabolism is to the left, there's a decrease in that protein metabolism, which means you're not breaking down and processing those amino acids as well as you should. Okay. The next one is energy production. So if your energy production, which is very important when it comes to the liver, hold on one second. Making sure you guys get the so the thing about energy production is that when your liver becomes clogged, and the fact that your liver performs so many different functions simultaneously, once that liver becomes clogged, it starts to affect the ability of the liver to produce the necessary energy, but also to function properly. And then it starts to decline. So in energy production, you won't necessarily see an increase. It's either going to be a decrease. It's going to be a mild decrease, a moderate decrease, or a severe decrease. Same with protein metabolism. It's not going to be an increase. It's going to be either a mild decrease in metabolism, a moderate or severe. Drop down to detoxification function, same thing. It's going to either be a decrease, mild, moderate, or severe. Remember, your liver is responsible for detoxifying the blood. So when the function of that liver starts to decline, this is where you're going to see it. Bile secretion is never going to be at an increase. It's either going to be at a decrease. Basically, the only thing that will be at an increase per se on this one will be liver fat content. Bile is secreted by the liver. Bile breaks down fat. Fat is an energy source for the body. In fact, a lot of fat is stored in the liver for potential energy use. But if there's too much fat stored in your liver, then now you have problems, because now your liver is clogged up and it's not able to function properly. It's not able to detox properly. Anytime a woman is dealing with fibroids, it has to do with a fatty liver. That's the pattern that I've been seeing. Anytime a woman is dealing with fibroids, she usually have a moderate or a severe fatty liver. You know why? Because the liver goes through a two-part process to break down estrogen. And when it breaks down estrogen, it breaks it down into a component where it can eliminate it efficiently. But if you have a fatty liver, guess what it's not doing? It's not breaking down the estrogen, and it's not eliminating it efficiently. So guess what happens? It finds a place, a nice, quaint place in the woman's uterus. And this is a merciful process, because if you encapsulate this estrogen anywhere else and you never address the liver issue, then that fibroid is going to keep on growing and growing and growing until it's a baby, until it's 9 pounds. But you're not gonna deliver it, because it's just gonna stay there and it's gonna keep growing. I say this is a merciful process because your body puts it in the uterus. What better place to put a fibroid that's gonna keep growing than in the uterus? Now, I'm not saying that that's good, but I'm saying that, hey, if your uterus can hold a 9 to 10 pound baby, and of course 10 is a little bit much, but if a uterus can hold a 10 pound baby, then it's all about buying you some time. See, when you really understand what the body is doing for you, you respect it and you love it and you love God. But if you don't understand what it's doing, you're in fear. Your body is always trying to buy you some time at many levels. And so it puts it into the uterus because it can grow and grow and grow. At some point, you should be able to identify the root cause, address it, which is flushing the liver. And then what happens once you clean the liver out? In my experience, the fibroid shrinks. We did it. We shrink the fibroids because we understood what the sign and the symptom was. It was an alarm. A fibroid is an alarm going off. It's not a disease, it's an alarm. Well, what is the alarm pointing to? A fatty liver. Well, let's clean out the liver. Okay, let's clean the liver out. Bam, fibroids start shrinking. There you have it. It shouldn't take 4 years of medical school to figure that out, because it's a corrupt system is what I'm trying to say. So if you're dealing with a mild, moderate, or severe fatty liver, you need to start detoxing as soon as possible. Because there's nothing that's going to turn that around besides flushing and cleaning it out. Now, here's the scary part. The scary part is that if heart disease and cancer is the #1 and #2 cause of death in America, and the only way that I have ever helped people to reverse heart disease, to eradicate cancer, the only way I was able to help them do that is to detoxify the liver and the whole body, not just the liver, but to detoxify the whole body and target the liver during that detox process. That was the only way that I was able to reverse it. then if you're going to the medical doctor for cancer, if you're going to the medical doctor for heart disease, what are they giving you? They're giving you pharmaceutical grade drugs. Guess where those drugs have to be processed? Yep, in your liver. So you see what's happening? Heart disease and cancer can never not be number one if you treat it medically. It will always be number one and number two if you treat it medically. You can't reverse heart disease or cancer in the medical field. Let me establish that. You can only reverse heart disease and cancer holistically. So when they say something is incurable, they're telling you the truth from their limited scope of practice. They're telling you the truth. Don't get mad at them. They're trying to tell you without telling you. Go see the naturopath. That's what they're really telling you. Go see the holistic doctor. Go cleanse and detoxify your body. That's what they're telling you, but they can't tell you that, or they'll come up missing. They'll come up dead. And I'm not just saying that. There are medical doctors that have come up missing that wanted to do holistic. There are medical doctors that have come up missing that try to expose the system. They're afraid. They're in it deep. What was that movie? In Too Deep? They're in too deep. And they don't know how to get out of it. So yeah, so moderate or severe fatty liver, yes, you need to start detoxing. All right, Sharon, kidneys.
Okay, I just want to address one particular thing from this report about bile secretion, because I think it's Jay Wilson who lost his gallbladder. Yeah. So when it comes to bile secretion, the gallbladder and the liver work together for that bile secretion. And as Dr. Prince mentioned earlier, bile is what helps to break down that fat. So it's definitely going to be important for you, Jay, to flush and cleanse your liver on a regular basis so that you can continue to function in that area properly. So for people who have been told that they may have gallstones, or, maybe you've been told that they need to take your gallbladder, don't do it. Keep your gallbladder, flush and cleanse your system so that your gallbladder and your liver can function properly. That's all I want to say.
All right, appreciate it. All right, on to the kidneys. Yep. Hey, fight to keep your organs, you guys.
Yes.
There's a market, a black market, an underground market for your organs, especially if you're a melanated person. I think Jay, I would love to hear about what happened, with you with the gunshot, because there are a lot of people out there. Oh yeah, Jay, that's right. I think I talked to you, Jay, at the track meet. Yeah, so it just clicked, Jay. Sorry about that. So you guys, Jay, who's related to Anita, when I was at the track meet on Saturday, I FaceTimed him in real time at the track meet, and I started telling him about the purpose of this process. And I wanted to show him where I was and what I was doing at the age of 53. Sometimes seeing is believing, but I'm here. And let me tell you, I was the oldest, probably the only guy. I'm pretty sure I was the only 50-year-old competing there, but I think I was the only guy that was not in college competing at the Grand Valley State University track meet. And let me tell you, let me start off by saying those kids are fast. I'm fast too, but when I compete with those kids, my mind becoming trained to who they are, and I become a child. I become a collegiate athlete again. I become fast again, and I'm saying this because the company you keep, you're gonna exchange gifts and you're gonna exchange talents. And if the company that you keep is not good company, you're gonna exchange negative characteristics, negative traits, and negative qualities, and you're going to have a toxic environment. So you have the power to put yourself in the best place for you, because wherever you put your body, you become a product of that environment. Now, let me say this, because this is how we all grew up. We were products of our environment. We didn't even know that we were being conditioned by anyone that was around our mother when she was pregnant, anyone that was around us from ages 1 to 7, from 7 to 13, 13 to 18, and so forth and so on. You are literally a product of your upbringing, which means that you have not really intentionally inputted into your own self the qualities, the characteristics, the traits that you truly desire, because you're a product of everything and everyone that was around you. Now, for me, I grew up in Cabrini Green housing projects, so that was not a good environment for me because I witnessed shootings. I saw people pulling out a gun and shooting another person. I saw violence. I saw more violence in the projects than I saw on TV. And this was not good for a child growing up, because that becomes my norm. Poverty, lack, limitation, scarcity. Poverty, lack, limitation, and scarcity. That was my affirmations, not intentionally. My affirmations now, of course, is wealth, prosperity, abundance, and success. My unconscious affirmations was scarcity, lack, limitations, because that's all I was around. So the fact that I was in that environment is what conditioned my subconscious mind, which affected my experience and my reality on this planet. The reason I'm telling you this is because once you start cleansing and once you start detoxing, one of the books that you are going to need to read or even listen to on the audiobook is called The Power of Your Subconscious Mind. Have you heard of that? The Power of Your Subconscious Mind. Mm-hmm. The Power of Your Subconscious Mind by Dr. Joseph Murphy. Anita, if you can put that in the chat, because people, you need to start now listening to that. If not, reading it. I listen to it all the time. I've probably listened to it 100 times. I've probably read it 20 times, but I listen to it over and over because I want to, I want to make sure that I get it right.
I'm sorry, repeat that for me. I'll put it in the chat right now.
The Power of Your Subconscious Mind by Dr. Joseph Murphy. The Power of Your Subconscious Mind by Dr. Joseph Murphy.
Okay.
This is probably one of the most powerful books on the planet because, one, it informs you of something that you were not informed of before. Mm-hmm. You were not informed of the fact that everything and everyone around you was creating your personality. And like Dr. Joe Dispenza would say, your personality, which is who you are, is responsible for your personal reality. In other words, everything that's happening to you right now is based upon all the personalities that you have experienced throughout your life. So in other words, your circumstances may not even be your fault. Usually they're not. But once you start learning that you have the power to intentionally change them, now whatever happens to you is now back in your control and is back under your command and demand. But until then, you're a victim. You're just a victim of circumstance throughout your whole life. So it's important to know what environment that you keep. So thanks, Jay, for that meeting that day. I appreciate it. We're gonna put together some documentaries so we can present this stuff so people can start getting good information. All right, so kidney function. So you have urobilly, I just call it urobilly. You can call it the full name, urobilly index, uric acid, blood urea nitrogen, which is BUN, and proteinuria. So, well, this person, of course, is all green. That's what you want. Let me say this. This is your goal. Your goal on every report is to get back to green. This is your goal. Let me establish that now in your mind. This is your goal. When I first did my scan in 2011, it was because I had chest pressure in my heart. Now, let me remind you, the chest pressure in my heart didn't make sense because I had been vegan since '04. So I stopped eating meat since 2004, and I started back running track and field in 2009. So in 2000, I was having chest pressure. That's what prompted me to do my own bioscan. That was my very first bioscan in 2011. Well, when I did my own scan, guess what I found out? I found out that I had plaque buildup on my coronary arteries, and it was in the yellow. I was moving towards a heart attack, and I didn't even know it. Well, the reason I didn't know it is because I thought that by changing my diet, by starting to exercise more, I thought that that was sufficient. You got to get this part. This is the most important part of this story. Even though I was doing everything that suggested that I should have a strong and a good heart, even letting go of the meat, I was still having chest pressure, and it was because I had plaque buildup on my coronary arteries. So if I had not done my bioscan in 2011, I probably would have dropped dead by the end of that year. Let me say that again. If I had not done my bioscan in 2011 because of the chest pressure, not pain, I didn't have any pain, but I had pressure. I had pressure because I was overexerting my heart. I was running workouts. I was running track meets. It was right after a Western Illinois University track meet. So I've been running college track since 2010. So for 10 years, I've been back on the college circuit. But when I was at Western University, Western Illinois University, and I had that chest pressure right after running the 400 meters, that's when I knew something wasn't right. And when I found out I had plaque buildup on my coronary arteries, I immediately started working on it. I started cleansing and detoxing. And from March of 2011 until October, it took me 8 months to bring all of my heart indicators back into the green. I worked to bring all of my indicators, and it wasn't, I had about 3 in the yellow. So it was all over the place. And it was shocking because I didn't think it was supposed to be that way. But it took me 8 months to bring everything back into normal range because that was my intention. You see, if I didn't have the intention to bring everything back into normal range, then I could not have done it. It didn't matter what I was doing physically. It didn't matter what I was eating. If I didn't apply my intention with all of the things that I was doing, I was not going to get the results that I was looking for. And that's another component of the bioscan. It gives you the ability to have intention when you're healing your body. It brings the mind and the body back together as one. Because the so-called healthcare industry, or let's say medical industry, it separated the body, didn't it? It separated the body from the mind. It gave mind to religion, and it gave the body to science. Quantum physics, quantum mechanics merged the mind back to the body. And that's why we have the quantum resonance magnetic analyzer. You get it now? It's a quantum equipment. It's actually measuring the ability of the mind to affect your body. And this is so important because this is why they have placebo effect. This is why they have the placebo trials when they're testing a drug. Because one, when you have a drug and they're testing it, they have certain people that are taking a placebo, and then they have certain people that are taking the actual drug. Well, what they found out is that the people taking a placebo sometimes have the same reaction as if they're taking the actual drug. Well, now the question is, well, was it the drug that caused the effects, or was it the person's mind that caused the effects? Well, either way, it can live. But what they discovered is that the mind plays an operant role in the healing process, which means if I give you a sugar pill and I tell you what the sugar pill is going to do. I have just created an intention. In other words, the medical industry is giving us false intention and a sugar pill. You're getting false intention and a sugar pill, and it's working. That's the crazy part about it. It's working, but it can only work temporary. In other words, it can't sustain itself because it's a lie. A lie cannot sustain itself against the truth. So for a few weeks, maybe a few months, you're taking a pill and you're seeing your blood pressure go down. But it doesn't stay down. So then you got to go back and take the pill and think about the intention, and then they go down again. But then it can't stay down, you see? So it's not permanent. So that's why it's important to understand that when you do the bioscan, we're identifying different areas in the body so that you can set an intention. And through the work, you can achieve the results. So urobilly is a waste product. Nitric acid is a waste product. Blood urea nitrogen is a waste product that's filtered out by your kidneys. If these waste products are mild, moderate, or severe to the right, if you have one of these to the right, the top three, that means that your kidneys filtration system is not as sufficient as it used to be. It's starting to gradually decline. If these waste products are at an increase, your body is not filtering out the uric acid. It's not filtering out the blood urea nitrogen or the urobilly, which is an indication that the filtration system is starting to become compromised. Let's drop down to protein urea. That's also can be at an increase. An increase in protein urea means an increase of protein in your urine. What would cause protein elevation in the urine? So anytime there's protein in the urine, yes, it's the meat. Think about all the dialysis places. I don't know where you guys live if you're seeing dialysis centers pop up around your place, but in Chicago, they're all over the place. They're like McDonald's now. You go to, there's a dialysis place on a corner right next to McDonald's. How ironic, huh? People's kidneys are shutting down because we have been overdosing on animal protein. And so the kidneys is trying to filter it out. Your body wasn't designed to filter out large molecules of protein. Your gut was supposed to break it down and your kidneys will filter it out and it wouldn't be a problem. But what happens over time if you're not breaking down your protein as efficiently as you normally do? Then guess what? Now you're not filtering out. Now it's affecting the filtration system of your kidneys, and now it's causing kidney failure. This is what I'm seeing in people that are on dialysis. Their kidneys are shutting down because they've been overdosing on protein. And most of us, by the time we turn 35, have overdosed on protein. Some of us are exercising more, so you don't see it as much. But at 35, you're not seeing the same type of vitality in your performance as you did when you were 25. And it has a lot to do with the animal protein. So when I stopped eating meat in 2004, then that was the precursor to me going back to running track and field. Now, I didn't stop eating meat to run track and field. No, I started running track and field after I stopped eating meat, only because I realized that I was no longer slow. I was back to running college speed. It shocked me just as much as the next person. I said, wait a minute, where did this come from? It was something I discovered that I identified, that I realized, wow, how far can I take this? And I just kept pushing it until now, bam, this is where I'm at. So don't think that I had planned on or aspired to run college track and field in my 40s and 50s. No, I didn't, because it was not a norm. It was not the belief system. The belief was that as you get older, you get slower. I accepted that, just like we all did. But when I let go of the animal protein that I was raised on, and my body became more alkaline, because that's what meat does. It decreases your pH. Take us to the next one, Sharon. So it decreases your pH. When your pH of your body drops, the fluid in your body becomes more hypoxic, which means a lack of oxygen. So the pH range is from 0 to 14. 7 is neutral. Anything above 7 is alkaline. Anything below 7 is acidic. So like right now, as I'm talking to you guys, I'm drinking Essence, which is 10.0. So that's the pH of my water is 10.0. Your blood stays between 7.35 to 7.45. So your blood is alkaline. It was neutral to alkaline. So your blood has to stay there because the life of the flesh is in the blood. So when your blood pH starts to drop, that means your body is becoming more acidic. The more acidic your body is, the more oxygen deprived your tissue is. The more alkaline your body is, the more oxygen rich your fluid is. So I want you to see the difference between acid and alkaline, because the detox program is designed to alkaline your body. The meat makes your body more acidic. When I stopped eating the meat, my body became less acidic and more alkaline. Why was that important? Because when you go to the store and you buy a battery, that battery is pure alkalinity when you first get it. When the battery is no longer working well, the radio is starting to slow down. You know how we had those big old boom boxes that had to put like 20 D batteries in there, and then the radio starts slowing down. It's because the battery is losing its alkalinity. It's becoming more acidic. In other words, the battery is dying. The human body is like a battery. When you start losing your pH, when you start losing your alkalinity and you become more acidic, you're dying. You're dying over time. It's like a long death that's taken place over 50 years, over 60 years. And we're happy when a person reaches 90, but that's not admirable, because you can do far better than 90. Heck, you can do far better than 120. Case in point, according to scripture, and I'm gonna ask you guys this, so get ready to type in, according to scripture, before the great flood, how long was man living on earth? According to scripture, before the great flood, how long was man living on earth? Yep. So you see, you get it. You get it. Hundreds of years. They were living centuries, not decades. We're only living decades now. We were living centuries. Why were we living centuries? Because man was not eating meat before the flood. Man was not consuming animals before the flood. So man had a more alkaline body before the flood. You get it? Methuselah lived to be 968. He was the oldest recorded. So I know you guys put that 1,000 out there, but we're talking about scripture. There may be other evidence that points to us being able to live longer, but let's stick with the scripture, because that's our account. There's a message in scripture. The oldest recorded was Methuselah. He lived 968 years. He didn't make it to 1,000. In fact, according to scripture, no one has made it to 1,000. Now, why is this significant? Now, you got to get this. We're about to go a little spiritual right here. Get ready. Tune in. One day with the Lord is as 1,000 years. just as 1,000 years is as one day. One day, and this is scripture, one day with the Lord is as 1,000 years, and 1,000 years is as one day. So if we have not made it to 1,000, if the oldest man recorded, Methuselah, only reached 968, and no one has made it to 1,000, then we're constantly repeating the sixth day, which is the day in which man was created. Talk about Groundhog Day. We are repeating the same day because the seventh day, which is that day of rest, according to scripture, is the 1,000-year millennium. So scripture talks about the resurrection. If you make it into that resurrection, you now enter into that seventh day. That's the day of rest. We're constantly repeating the sixth day. We have not come out of the sixth day. The seventh day is the day of rest. That's the 1,000-year millennium where Christ will reign on the planet according to Revelations 2020. According to Revelations chapter 20. So what is it saying? It's saying that the kingdom of heaven is coming down. We're not going up. We were taught that when we die, we go up to heaven. That's a lie. I'm not going to get into it right now, but that is a lie. There's no one in heaven right now. They're asleep. They're in the earth. Because the resurrection represents a second coming, but it represents heaven on earth, not heaven in the sky. Even Revelation talks about the tabernacle of God is coming down from heaven, and he will be with men, and they will be with him, and he will be their God. Now, this is the book. I'm just telling you what the book said. Don't look at me like I'm crazy. I just know the book. But I believe it because it makes sense. We have a choice now, you guys. We can either die. We thought that was our only option. But guess what? That's not our only option now. You don't have to die. Scripture says there are some standing here that will not taste of death. Scripture also says that the last enemy to be destroyed is death. Yeah, to be absent from the body is to be present with the Lord, but that doesn't mean you leave to go to heaven. No, you got to understand all of the book, not just one scripture. God said, we shall not all sleep. He said, sleep. He didn't say we shall not all be in heaven. He said, no, we shall not all sleep, but we shall be changed. In the twinkling of an eye at the last trump, when the trumpet shall sound, the mortal shall inherit immortality, and the corruptible shall inherit incorruption. And then the saying shall be brought to pass, death is swallowed up in victory. So now you have a choice. We don't have to die, or we can be changed. You either die or you're changed. Which one do you choose? Do you choose treating your condition or eradicating? You see what we're doing? We're giving people back choices. Now, who wants to die? Nobody wants to die. But who wants to be changed? I do. I want to go through that change where there's no more death, where I can go back to living 600, 700, 800 years, even 1,000. But in order to do that, you guys, you can't be connected to chronological time anymore. You have to be disconnected from chronological time. And you have to be connected to biological time. And the reason I say is because it takes about 10 to 15 years for you to develop a new body. So it's biologically impossible to be older than 10 or 15 years of age. It's biologically impossible to be older than 10 or 15 years of age. And that's any human being on the planet. That's biological time. You were connected to chronological time. The chronological time is the rotation of the earth around the sun, which takes 365 days. They tricked you into thinking that every time the earth circles the sun, you get older. And you agree with it. You're like, okay, now I'm a year older. Now I'm 7 years old. Now I'm 8 years old. Now I'm 9, 20, 35 years old. And you say that. Remember, death and life is in the power of the tongue. So every time you say you're older, you're telling your subconscious mind, and the body will respond. So that's why we're collectively aging the way we do, not because it's reality, but because we believe it, just like that sugar pill. We believe we're getting older. Your body has to follow because it's always mind over matter. So stop telling yourself that you're getting older. It's the reason why I say years young. I'm 53. When you hear me say 53, I say I'm 53 years young. I don't tell myself that because I don't want to keep speaking death to myself because I'm listening. So anyway, I got off the point there a little bit. So back to basic physical quality. So responsibility. So think about that for a second. Responsibility. When you think about the word responsibility, break it in half, response and ability. In other words, responsibility is the ability to respond rather than react. To respond rather than react. Why is this important? Because if you're a reactionary person, then you're going to be stressed all the time. Not only are you stressed, but you're predictable. And so when you choose your response, you are proacting. When you proact, you have control over your biology. When you don't choose your response and you just react, you're predictable and you have no control over your biology. But whoever caused you to react, they control you. Is it your boss? Is it your spouse? Is it your children? I mean, who is it? Somebody is causing you to react, but you have the power to proact. So once again, that's 3 now. I'm now giving you back another option. You can either react or proact. React or proact. You can either die or be changed. Die or be changed. You can either treat your health issues or you can eradicate your health issues. You can either treat your health issues or eradicate them. We never knew about all of these choices. We're like on autopilot towards death. So that's why it's important to learn this.
All right, here we go.
Back on the air. So I had to change my ear pod. So responsibility, ability to respond. Sometimes that's going to be at a decrease. Mental power, which is also correlated with responsibility, that's going to make a big difference too. Your ability, your mental power is a lot of times have to do with your willpower. You know, do you have a strong will? Are you able to accomplish things? If not, that may be at a decrease as well. So responsibility is either mild, moderate, or severe to the left. Mental power, mild, moderate, or severe to the left. Water shortage, mild, moderate, severe to the left, which has a lot, you know, obviously that's obvious. Dehydration, you know, water shortage means that you don't have adequate and sufficient water protecting your cells and your tissue. And it's not just because you're not drinking water, but what happens is that once you start gaining weight, your body retains certain water in order to protect your cells. So that's why it's important that when people start burning a lot of the weight off, their hydration goes up. And you can see that on a regular scale where you program a scale and you step on it, you can see your hydration. So your hydration should be anywhere from 55% up to 72%, because your body is roughly about 60 to 70% water. So anything below that, you're at a shortage. Hypoxia. Hypoxia just means a lack of oxygen. And so a lack of oxygen has to do, of course, with your pH. So when you drop down to where it says pH, if you're in the green with your pH, that means that your body is neutral to to alkaline. That means your blood is neutral to alkaline. As soon as you drop below that 3.156, that means your body is slightly acidic. It doesn't have to be mild, moderate, or severe. If your body is acidic, your body is acidic. It's been proven that disease cannot survive in an alkaline body, but it thrives in an acidic body. So with everything that's going on in all your other reports, most of you are probably seeing the indicator to the left. That means you have an acidic pH. In that situation, you're like a dying battery. I'm not saying that that's going to happen, but at least now you know. Now you can make the changes that you need to make. Now you can turn it around. If you didn't notice for the next 10, 20 years, you would have no idea why you have a crisis. You would have no idea why you're now dealing with an emergency. You will have no idea why you're having certain issues, health issues. We need to know this stuff, because knowing this stuff it gives us back our ability to make the best decisions for our health. But without knowing any of this stuff, and you can't make the best decisions, then you're at the mercy of the system that we were all born into. And that system is the third leading cause of death in America. So we were beaten before we even started. Okay. And last but not least, I'm gonna take them real quick to the gastrointestinal. I know this is not you guys on your report, but I just want to show you something. Sharon, take it to the gastrointestinal. I just want you to know how important it is. So look on here. So in the items tested, you have pepsin secretion, gastric peristalsis, gastric absorption, small intestines peristalsis, and small intestine absorption. So pepsin is an enzyme that breaks down protein. And as you can see with this person, it's usually going to be at a decrease. When you're eating meat year after year, day in and day out, you start to deplete the enzymes required to break down the protein. One of them is pepsin. When you start to deplete this pepsin, guess what you're not doing? You're not breaking down the protein as well anymore. So guess what happens with the kidneys? It starts to cause an increase of uric acid in the kidneys, and also it causes an increase of proteinuria, which is protein in the urine. That's what's shutting down the kidneys and sending people to dialysis. Gastric peristalsis. So peristalsis is that wave function in your gut. It's like a muscle contraction that moves the food through your esophagus, through your stomach, through your small intestines, large intestines, and out through the colon. It's a wave. It's a muscle contraction, peristalsis wave. If that's at a decrease in the gastric region, that means that you're not breaking down protein in your stomach where protein is broken down. Also, gastric absorption. When the protein is broken down, the complete protein, the amino acids is what's being absorbed by the body so that you can have a supply of amino acids to create whatever protein the body needs. If you need protein to repair your kidneys, if you need protein to repair your liver, if you need protein to repair your heart, then it's those amino acids that you get, that you absorb, that's going to help your body to synthesize new protein. But if the pepsin is low, you're not breaking it down. And if the peristalsis is at a decrease, that means you're not moving the food through your system, which means you're not breaking it down, you're not digesting it, which means you're not absorbing those amino acids. So even though you're eating meat, you're not even processing it. So basically you're eating just to clog up your system, which is why constipation is such a big issue. Small intestines, peristalsis, most of the digestion occurs in the small intestines. So if that's at a decrease, of course, now you're not moving food through the small intestines. And then also mucus. Mucus hinders absorption. Now, there's three things, Sharon, that creates mucus in the body. What are they?
So, of course, we know dairy. you know, your eggs, cheese, milk, butter, ice cream, those things. The other thing that creates mucus in the body is cooked food. We never knew that it was cooked food that's causing that mucus to build up. But cooked food causes mucus. And then
meat.
And right, animal protein. Causes the body to be acidic, which when your body responds to that acidity, it creates the mucus in an effort to remove it.
Exactly. And think about this, you guys. Dairy creates mucus in the body. And it also makes the body acidic. What you probably don't know is that when the body becomes acidic, your body leaches calcium. So if dairy creates mucus and acidity in the body, which causes your body to leach calcium, then dairy is actually causing you osteoporosis. We were told that milk does your body good, when in fact, milk causes you to lose calcium.
Right.
Tell them your story, Sharon.
So yes, as a kid and even into my adult years, I drank milk a lot. As a matter of fact, my father threatened to buy a cow because I drank so much milk. And drinking that milk, I just knew that I was going to always have strong bones and be healthy, because that's what they told us. Milk does the body good and it gives you strong bones. However, when I had my very first scan, it showed that I had osteoporosis. It showed that my bone mineral density was low. How can that be if I've been drinking milk my whole life, day in and day out? Because my body was overly acidic. The animal protein, the dairy products, and also white foods create acidity in the body. White sugar, white potatoes, white bread, those foods also create that acidity. And I was eating an abundance of all of that. But the fact that I consumed milk, I mean, I was drinking milk like multiple times a day. So if it was true that it created strong bones, then there's no reason that I should have had that weakness in my bones at the age of 44, 43.
Exactly.
So, but once I started cleansing and detoxing and I alkalized my body, I was able to reverse that.
Right.
So when they tell you, osteoporosis is caused by old age, you're getting older, so it's supposed to happen, it's normal. It is not normal. And it doesn't have to happen. You can stop it, not by taking prescription meds, not by having to take that one pill every month. No, you change it by alkalizing your body. Come away from those foods that make you acidic and alkalize your body. And you don't have to deal with osteoporosis.
Right. Now you have 4 options now. Now you can either allow your bones to get weak and brittle, or you can strengthen your bones and restore your bone health back. Why is this important? Is because the dairy turns out, and I'm gonna get to you in 1 second, Anita. Dairy actually causes your body to develop colds and allergies. Your body develops colds and allergies to fight the dairy. But we were taught to fight the cold, not to remove the dairy. You see? So you see how the programming is? So, Nita, what's your question?
No, I had several questions. I didn't want to lose anybody else. We were up to 49. We're down to 40. You are doing fantastic. It's some excellent information, but unfortunately, we got a few people on the East Coast. So I kind of wanted to just kind of give them the next steps or wrap it up. I don't want to cut you off, but I don't want to lose anybody.
No, we about done now. I just wanted to just take them through the I think what was important, the gastrointestinal tract, is I wanted them to understand how important what was going on in their gut has to do with their health. But if you want to let them know what to do, I think that the people who left probably got the best information that they need to return back to you and make the necessary changes. But yeah, if you want to step in and let them know the next step, no, feel free.
Well, one thing, we are definitely going to do this again on Thursday. So if there's anyone who still has additional questions, we're going to do this again on Thursday, go through each of the reports, and then, get some questions. There were a couple people who asked about, okay, so we do the 21-day cleanse. Do we scan again immediately, or do we need to wait a few months, or, the next steps for the people who have not yet purchased the 21-day cleanse? For those of you who have not yet purchased it, just go to the Angel Wakana website and purchase it. But the next step after that, what do they eat after that? There's some next steps that we want to just kind of go through real quick before we lose anyone. And then we want to do this again on Thursday. So if there's questions that weren't answered, we want you to come back on Thursday.
Okay. So once you actually enroll, let me say this. You're gonna need a juice extractor. Just so you know, you're gonna need a juice extractor. Not a blender, not a bullet, not a ninja, but a juicer. You wanna extract the juice and you wanna leave the pulp. Let me say why this is important, because let's say you put everything in the blender and you pulverize everything. Well, I'm not saying that shakes aren't good, they are great, but you're still going to be relying upon a certain level of gut digestion in order to get your nutrients. Whereas if you're using a juicer, you're going to be absorbing vitamins and minerals at the microscopic level much faster, which means you're not relying upon it gut digestion. Because simultaneously, while you're juicing and you're drinking your juices, we're also cleaning out your gastrointestinal tract. That's the prerequisite to healing. No healing can take place in your body unless we clean out the gut. So you got to have that juice extractor, because even detoxification itself is going to deplete some of your vitamins and minerals. So we have to flood the body with nutrition, and we have to clean out the whole gastrointestinal tract simultaneously. A good recommendation would be Breville. Breville is spelled Breville. That's a good model. I don't have any stock in it. I probably should. But Breville has a good motor, and it has a warranty, and it has a wide enough chute to drop an apple in. So you want a big chute. You don't want a little small chute. You want a big one, and you want a good motor. It doesn't have to be a Cadillac, but at least, a decent Nissan, you know what I'm saying? So a Breville, Breville, no, don't use the coffee maker, LaDonna. We want the Breville juicer, but I guess the coffee maker is good because the Breville has a few gadgets out there. And then once you get the package, once you get your package, this is important too. Once you get your package, definitely you want to reconnect with Anita and Fred and Sharon so they can do a regimen review with you, because you're going to have a coach through this process. We're not saying, hey, go detox and go do it by yourself, because you can't do it by yourself. Not saying that you don't have the willpower to, but you can't correct a condition, a health condition, on the same level you unconsciously created it. That's the reason why I got you reading the book, Power of the Subconscious Mind, because all of your bad habits live in your subconscious and they're on autopilot. Mm-hmm. So you have to override that. And you need a coach to assist you, a mentor to assist you in overriding your bad habits. So we want to make sure we're walking this process with you. We want you to know you got the support. If you got questions, whatever you need in order to make it through those first 3 weeks, we got to do whatever we have to do to make sure you complete it. And that's why, because we love our people, we love our clients, we love our customers, we love you because you're part of us. When we help you, we're helping us, and we're also helping the world. The world is in trouble. If we don't do this right now, I don't know what else is going to be able to take the place and make it happen. So we want you to reconnect with Anita and Fred, and then you set up your regimen review. And then after the regimen review, we're going to send you some stuff, you know, like a whole grocery list. So you can go to the store, get your grocery list, you got your juicer, you got your products, bam, you ready to roll. We recommend that you do your juicing the night before you start, because they'll show you, Sharon will show you how to juice for several days and how to can them. So that way, once you start, first 3 days, first 4 days, first 5 days, the juices are already in the refrigerator. All you're doing is grabbing them and following your daily routine. The only difference is you'll probably have to use the restroom maybe a little longer than normal because you might be full of shit. And that's okay, because most of us are by a certain point, but just let it come on out. Get it out. They say we hold about 10 to 12 pounds of waste alone in our intestines. So when I say we full of it, I'm not trying to be funny. We are. We're full of stuff. That's what we have to get out, because until we get the waste out of your gut, the liver is not going to release its waste and toxins. The kidneys is not going to release its waste and toxins. The heart is not going to release, the brain is not going to. So we got to clear out the gut. And while we're doing that, we got to make sure your body has ample supply of vitamins and minerals and nutrients that it needs to perform this work. And not only that, but the parasite mucus buster is going to clear out that mucus. And at the same time, guess what it's doing? Killing those parasites. Because you're dealing with some parasites, you just don't know it. And so once you do, as you're doing that, and as you're communicating with us, then you're seeing the results that are taking place. You're watching the pounds come off, you're watching the energy levels go up. And at some point, if you're on medication, you're probably going to have to let it go, because at that point, it's not even necessary. Medication is only making your body more toxic, and it's not even correcting the issue. So why keep taking it? Because you're afraid not to take it? That's usually the reason people keep taking their medication, because they're afraid to not listen to who they were taught to listen to, which is the medical doctor. Well, if the medical doctor is taking out over 250,000 people a year and not being prosecuted for it, then yeah, you got to stop listening to them. Else you're going to be a part of that statistics, okay? I think that's it as far as procedure. Go enroll, sign up, reconnect with Anita, and then we go from there. You know, take it step by step. Don't try to eat the whole elephant. Take it a little bit at a time, and then we'll go from there. And depending on what your situation is, because some of you may have different situations going on, and that's okay. We'll address them. We may have to add a couple of products in there depending on what's going on with your body. But we'll do that. We'll set that up. But the bottom line is that you have everything you need now. The information, you have your bioscan, you have everything you need in order to get this journey started, and in order to really transform your life as you've never transformed it before. And let me tell you, it is life transforming, because my mother wouldn't be here with me today if it wasn't for this process. So it doesn't matter how young you are, how old you are. Once you start this process, you begin the process of age reversal, detoxification, which is also / flat belly cleanse. And so that's why I called it age reversal, because it's about addressing your biology, taking you away from chronological time, taking you away from chronological time and connecting to biological time. And then once you begin living in that space, then now you're able to get back to your prime state, okay? Last point I want to make, go to that last, well, go ahead, Sharon. Go to the last page real quick, and then set it down.
Okay.
Because I know it's getting late. Thank you guys for your patience. So also I want to say this to everyone here. Once you actually buy the actual package, once you get your package, you're entitled to have your scan. You know, we sell the scan for people who just want their scan and they want all the reports instead of the ones we give them, and they just pay for that. But once you become enrolled, then you're required to have your scan. You see what I'm saying? Because now you're engaged in it. So you're going to get your gastrointestinal function. You're going to get your prostate status. You're going to get your vitamins and mineral status. You're going to get that. So that way you'll have your whole report. Because the next time you scan, which I would say is about maybe 3 to 6 months after you finish the cleanse. You don't want to scan right after. You want to wait a while, let your body, you know, balance itself out. You do that second scan compared to that first scan and watch what you see. You're going to see something amazing. You're going to start to see that you're no longer degenerating. You're no longer a dying battery. You're now regenerating. Now you're becoming an alkaline battery, but you're becoming a rechargeable alkaline battery. That's the best battery to be, a rechargeable alkaline battery. If it wasn't for that, I couldn't go back and run track and field at the college level. I have to be alkaline. I have to be rechargeable. I have to be able to recharge every few years, not every few years, every few weeks, or actually every day you need to be recharging. Should be the same link on Thursday. So last thing I want to go over with you guys, and shut it down. On here, you're seeing large intestines. So this is also your gastrointestinal tract. Large intestines, peristalsis, colonic absorption, intestinal bacteria, intraluminal pressure. This is everything that's going on in your large intestines, okay? This is everything that's going on in your large intestine. We know about peristalsis. Remember, that's the muscle contraction that moves the food through your system. If that's at a decrease in your large intestines, that means you're constipated. That means that you have blockage. All right, Jay, you have a good night, man. Appreciate you. I know you already enrolled, so let's do it. Colonic absorption. Anytime there's a decrease in your colonic absorption, also that's a sign of constipation because it's not enough water in the system to move the stool through. So your absorption is at a decrease. Intestinal bacteria. That sometimes is at a decrease as well. Anytime your intestinal bacteria is at a decrease, that means that your immune system is compromised. Because what do we say about your immune system? 70% of your immune system is in your gut. So if there's a decrease in the bacteria in your gut, then yeah, you're gonna have a compromised immune system. And last, good night, Donna. And last but not least, intraluminal pressure. That's going to tend to be at an increase. So if there's an increase in intraluminal pressure, that means that the waste is pushing against the gastrointestinal walls and it's not moving. So that's where we're looking at the constipation. That's where the blockage is. So what are you going to get for that? The liquid colonic detox tea. Liquid colonic. You know why I named it liquid colonic? Because it sounds a lot like liquid Drano. Because some of us need Drano to unclog our plumbing so that we can live a healthy life. So I'm going to open up the floor to any questions. But as far as the scan goes, I gave you a little bit extra. We're done here.
Okay, I think there were a few questions in the chat. I think some of them were answered. So basically what you can do is contact either myself or Fred or Keith or Tanya, and we will set up 3-way calls. If you've not purchased the cleanse yet, you can go to either websites, but we do want to make sure that we do one-on-ones. If you've got some one-on-one questions, please feel free to call us. If you have additional questions, like I said, we're going to do this again on Thursday. We don't want to keep you any longer. We've got only 35 left when we were almost at 50. So I know we're losing people, but just give us a call directly and we'll make sure that we can set up some individual one-on-ones. Okay?
Right.
So
I wouldn't Go ahead. I wouldn't say we're losing people because they got the information, they got the idea, but somebody like said they have to start at 5 a.m. Like Doretha, I get that. You know, she's gonna be a part of that. People got the information, so they know what they can do now, and that's what we want. Like, I think one guy asked if he doesn't, how can he get the scan if he doesn't live nearby? So you're like, you guys aren't from Atlanta. You're actually from St. Louis, so you would have to do one of two things: either find out what place is closest to you where we do have the scan, and you might have to take that trip. I've had people fly from Texas to Chicago before we started creating all these coaches, and they would take that scan, they would make that trip, take that scan, and man, that would be one of the best life-saving trips at all. So we'll talk with Anita and find out where he lives, Ron, and then find out who's close to him, or if he can take a trip to go get that scan. So that's something that we can do also. But go ahead, Anita.
Oh no, I'm done. I just want to thank everybody for being here. And like I said, if you had some other questions, please write them down. Please come back. Maybe those of you who are on today might be able to get your questions answered first. We'll run through each of the 4 reports. And for the new people who didn't come on today, we'll run through the 4 reports, and then we'll take additional questions on Thursday. But I just want to thank everybody for coming. Feel free to contact either of us. We will make sure that you get the rest of the information that you need in order to start your cleanse. And as Dr. Eric said, we are coaching with you. This is not, we give you a product and leave you on your own. We're going to go through everything with you, each step by step on what we need for you to do, because we want you to be successful. The products are excellent products. We don't want them to go to waste sitting on your counters or in your cabinets. So we want to make sure that we're there for you step by step. So any individual questions, feel free to give us a call.
Okay.
And as I said, we're doing this again Thursday, same time, same Zoom number. If you know of other people who need to get on to listen, feel free to forward the information to them.
And
Is there anything else?
They have your information, right, Anita and Chris?
Yes.
So if there's any essential enrollment questions, direct them to Anita and Fred. The machine, you can, the actual bioscan machine is a part of a training process and program. We get like a certain deal on it when we're bringing it into a group of people. So the cost of it varies, but just getting it is not enough. You need to understand it. More so than anything else. So, if you're interested in becoming a coach, you still got to go through the cleanse, which is a prerequisite. And then you enroll in the wellness coaching program, and we train you. And now you have the equipment, you have the network, you have the support, and you're able to now make it a business. Okay.
And I just wanted to, I would be remiss if I did not introduce the other members of our team. We have Arvella DeVille, we have Sheila Medina, we have Sheila Shepherd, and we have Keith and Tonya Patillo. They were there with us in Atlanta, helping with the scans. So you can contact any of us who were there. So again, I just want to thank you all. For those of you who do need to leave, you can feel free to leave. I don't know if there's some people who maybe are on the West Coast, have a few more minutes. If you want to ask some more questions, you can. I'm a night owl, so I'm not going to shut you down, but I am going to officially end it at this point. So if you need to leave, we want to thank you again. If you have a couple of additional questions that you have for Dr. Prince, please feel free to stay on and ask a few more questions. How about we just give it another 5 minutes, okay? Would that be good?
Sure, I don't have a problem with that.
Okay, are there any questions? You can just unmute yourself and just ask whatever questions that you have for Dr. Prince, please.
Hi, I have a question. This is Rita. I'm on the 21-day cleanse. Tomorrow will be my day 7, and I don't see the information of what you do after the fact. I don't know if that's for you or if that's for the coaches.
Okay, so once you get to the end of the cleanse, a question is, of course, do you know your blood type?
Yes, I do.
What's your blood type?
It's O positive.
Okay. So one of the things we like to do is, get people their blood type food list. But our campaign is called plant-based for your blood type. So I don't promote meats because I know that they're not for us. I know that people still eat meats, and that's okay if you do. I don't judge you. But our goal is let's make our protein plant-based. And when you get your blood type food list, then investigate all of the foods that are beneficial for you, that are neutral, and the foods that you should avoid. In other words, this is at the end is where you want to start to evaluate and put together your lifestyle, your new lifestyle. Because once you clean out your system is now resensitized. So now you can investigate which foods are reacting negatively in your body, which foods are reacting positive. So you're going to listen to your body now, because now it's more sensitive to the foods. And then also you want to request a post-detox regimen. A post-detox regimen is not super strict, but it just helps you to kind of understand how to blend back into consuming regular food. It talks about food that digests at different rates, because what we teach about food combining, which food should be combined with other foods, because even there are laws to what you combine in your body in order to digest it properly. So so you're looking at a post-detox regimen and a blood type food list at the end. And also maybe some recommendations as to probiotics you want to start taking after the cleanse, and then also digestive enzymes. So these are things that you want to start taking on a regular basis to assist your body in breaking down whatever you're eating, from proteins, carbohydrates, and fats. You want to start doing this on a regular basis. After meals, taking digestive enzymes, and then probiotics, taking them every day, and even doing fermented food on a regular basis. So these are the things that you want to do, that you'll be doing after the cleanse is over. So just connect with us on the last week.
Okay, I have more questions. And I'm just going to say one more thing because I know time is limited. I got a probiotic from Dr. Christina Park. I saw you at the Black National Convention. So would those serve, the Protandim and the Probio that she gave, would that serve as the regimen for the probiotics?
What form were they in? Were they pill, capsule?
Both.
Both. Okay, after the cleanse, any probiotics are good after the cleanse, especially in capsule form. Okay. Sometimes you want to have at least 7 strains of bacteria in there, 7 or more. Sometimes they're 14, sometimes 7, but you want to have a diverse culture of bacteria in there. That helps with keeping your gut healthy. But yeah, those should suffice. And even during the cleanse, if you have probiotics and you have capsules, open those capsules. Don't take the capsules as is. Open the capsules, put them in your juice. Okay.
Oh, okay. Okay, perfect. Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you for all that you've done. I can go on about the things that I've learned with my body, and I don't know why I'm not hungry and why I'm not craving anything. It's unreal, but that's for another day. Thank you so much.
Hey, God bless you.
If Keith and Tanya are still on, Tanya, would you mind giving your testimony?
Right now we have dog issues, so I can't give a testimony. I guess
Okay, well that's okay. Tanya completed her Keith and Tanya have completed their cleanse. I'm not sure if there's anyone else on who has at least gotten started. I know Sora Rita got started. Thank you so much for your testimony. But I just wanted to see if there was anyone else who wanted to give a testimony. But I do want, please do come back on Thursday. And then on Saturday, we're going to have a Zoom call with the Wakana company, because there's going to be a little contest. And I'm not sure the details of the contest, but you will be paid for losing weight. So we're going to give out that Zoom information. Fred, do you have that already? Let me see if I can find it. There will be a Zoom on Saturday at 12, and there's going to be a contest. So we do want to give you that information as well. Let me see if I can find the number. I don't think I have it with me. I'm sorry, I should have been prepared. Are there any other questions while I try to look for the
I think
Zoom number for Saturday?
Jeffrey had a question about during the cleanse probiotics. So just like I told the other young lady, if it's in capsule form, you can open the capsule and put it in your juice. You don't want to be taking pills per se during the cleanse unless it's medication in the beginning, because remember you're cleaning out the gut, so you don't want to irritate the gut lining by taking pills, because everything in this cleanse is powders and liquid. So if you have capsules, gel capsules, don't do that unless you can poke a hole in the gel capsule and squeeze that in there. But you don't want to just do the whole capsules. No pepper, of course, during the cleanse, because that will also irritate the gastrointestinal lining. Maybe a little sea salt, but no pepper, unless it's cayenne pepper. Cayenne pepper is the preferred pepper during the cleanse.
Okay, so again, Thursday, we're going to do this again. Saturday, there's going to be a Zoom call. That is the information, 854-9973-3603, and the passcode is new me in 2023. That is for the Saturday Zoom. Thursday Zoom, we're using this exact same Zoom information, and we're going to start at 7, and we're going to run through some things real quickly, but hold your questions until then. I want to thank everyone for being on the call, and if you have any other questions, of course, we can put something together one-on-one, or a 3-way call if you have some individual questions. And again, go ahead, I'm sorry.
For the questions, where the people want to know if there are other coaches in their area, kind of work with them and find out, where the nearest coach would be.
Okay.
That they can go to do the scan. But if it's not in the immediate area, you may have to take a flight somewhere. So, and it's worth it. It's definitely worth it, especially if it changes your life. All right.
Yeah, we'll work on researching that, Dr. Prince, and we'll have that information available for tomorrow night. Also,
Thursday night.
Oh, sorry, Thursday. That's correct. Thursday. I'm sorry. Also, I just put it in the chat link that you can click on. That if you're ready to order the 21-day cleanse, it'll take you straight to Keith Antonia's website.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. Well, I'm chiming out. I just want to say, may the Lord bless you guys and keep you, cause His light to shine upon you, be gracious to you, show you favor, and grant you everlasting peace and success through the cleansing and detoxification process.
Amen. And thank you all for joining us. Have a blessed evening, everyone.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everyone. I didn't get that 854. What was that number?
It's still up in the chat.
Oh, is it?
Okay, everyone.
Hold on, let me see if I can pull it back up. It's still in the chat. Hold on.
And I'm not able to click the link.
Okay, let me let's see.
854-9973.
3603 854-9973 3603, passcode new me 2023. But that is for the Zoom that is Saturday. That's the Zoom where the Wakana corporate office is going to discuss the contest for losing weight. Like if you lose a certain amount, you get a t-shirt. If you lose another certain amount, I don't know what the contest is yet, but they're going to unveil that on Saturday. But maybe by Thursday, we'll have a little bit more information, and we'll talk about that in the beginning for those of you who won't be able to, stay the whole time on Thursday. And like I said, we're going to try to allow those who came tonight to get those questions in first. We're going to run through the 4 reports, and then, because I'm going to send out emails to the people who did not make it tonight, because I know some people already told me they had choir rehearsal or whatever and couldn't make it. So that's why we decided to do 2 this week. So again, I thank you all for your patience. We still got 17 of you hanging with us. So we appreciate it.
Nicole, if you scroll up on the chat, if you can't click on this one I just typed in, if you scroll up further, it's in there again with the HTTP, so you may be able to click on that link and it'll take you straight to Keith and Tanya's website.
All right. Good night, everyone. We're going to go ahead and stop the Zoom. And as I said, if you have any questions, just feel free, to contact me directly, and we will make sure you get all your questions answered. Thanks so much. Good night, everyone.
Good night.